Chapter 471. Lin Fan's voice caused Black Prison to be stunned. What were you doing? Young Master Lin, since you came to heaven-covering demon sect to fight, then follow me. Black Prison hollered in rage. If they really fought here, then it would be a huge problem. This was why he wanted to lead Lin Fan to another place. He definitely couldn't fight in the sect's territory. No, Lin Fan replied decisively. He wouldn't agree to Black Prison's request. If they wanted to fight, then they should fight here. If they ran somewhere else, wouldn't that be a huge difference for what he wanted? He didn't care about what happened to heaven-covering demon sect. Anyway, he was here to cause trouble. If he really caused trouble, then that would be what he wanted. Black Prison was furious. It was obvious that he didn't expect that Lin Fan wouldn't go. Did he really want to fight here and cause irreversible damage to heaven-covering demon sect? Just as he was thinking about all of this, he was shocked. He was shocked. Lin Fan let out a furious roar, and the impact of his power turned into wind blades that swept out in all directions. Kid, you're asking to die. Black Prison obviously couldn't do nothing. He pressed down with one palm and formed a domain. The dimension collapsed and cut off the area. There was a loud explosion. There was an intense explosion. The heaven-covering demon sect disciples were stunned. They didn't expect that Lin Fan would actually attack. Those who were closer felt a huge force striking their bodies. There was a kacha. There was also the sound of bones breaking. Then they spat out blood, and it felt like their organs had shifted. Young Master didn't even know who he had offended. As it was too embarrassing, he just laid there. Who knew that he would face danger even after returning to the sect? Bastard! Black Prison raged. Young Master Lin, what is the meaning of this? If you want to fight, then come with me. Do you know how big of an impact it will have if you fight in the sect? His eyes were about to spit fire. He even wanted to swallow Lin Fan up right away. Lin Fan clenched his fists and calmed himself down. You are right, but I like to fight in your territory. It is best if the sky and earth shatters. But what can all of you do? Damn, Black Prison was so furious that he wanted to curse. He didn't expect that he would face such a kid. Heaven-covering demon sect didn't offend him, but he kidnapped young Master and started a war. The reason was so random. It was as if he was looking for trouble. All disciples, evacuate the scene. Elder Black Prison instructed. The difference in strength between these disciples and the other party was simply too great. Staying here would just be sending them to their deaths. When the disciples heard this, they didn't dare to stay any longer. They broke into a run. The difference in strength was too big. They weren't blind, so how could they not see it? Not to mention attacking, just the shockwave alone could kill them all. The young Master, who had already lost all his face, just wanted to quietly be a coward and muddle through this matter. But how could they survive the current situation? Motherf asterisk Kerr. Where did this monster come from? He's way too daring. The young Master ran. As he ran, he turned around and stared at Lin Fan's face. It was obvious that he wanted to remember this face forever. He was an arrogant man with status. However, the most shameful thing was that the other party was the one who had caused it. He would always remember the other party in his heart. Maybe one day. No, there was definitely no such day. He was going to die here today. To be able to bully this young Master before your death is enough for you to brag about for the rest of your life. The atmosphere in heaven-covering demon sect was a little suppressed. Junior brothers attacked together to kill this kid. Elder Black Prison's expression was cold, and it was obvious that he wanted to kill him. If Lin Fan wanted to attack in heaven-covering demon sect's territory, then he could only kill him quickly in case there were any problems. Shwa! Shwa! Several elders blocked Lin Fan's path, and each of them stared at him in rage. The space around them shook, and they gave off a terrifying aura and shocking killing intent. Kid, you won't be able to escape today. You dare to cause trouble in heaven-covering demon sect. Today, you shall die here. They were infuriated by this brat. At the same time, they set up an isolation barrier. Otherwise, with their strength, if they attacked together, the aftermath would be terrifying to a certain extent. When Dao Realm experts attacked, they could cause the entire area to shake. To experts, it might not have been much, but the sect disciples were too weak. So how could they handle such power? Ha ha ha. Lin Fan smiled calmly. Ganging up on them is the wisest choice. Naturally, I don't care about the juniors of your sect. As for the weak, I am too lazy to kill them. As for whether or not they will die, that will depend on their luck. Okay, there's no point in talking anymore. Let's attack. Lin Fan clenched his fingers, and with a crack, the space collapsed. Many cracks appeared, and the dimension slowly opened up. This was the explosion of pure strength. It was extremely shocking, and one could say that it was extremely terrifying. Each elder wanted to kill Lin Fan, but they were all really wary of Lin Fan's strength. What shocking strength! This was a huge enemy, and Senior Brother told them to attack together. It was obvious that they didn't dare to be careless in case there were any problems. At that moment, Lin Fan clenched his fingers into a fist, and he hammered towards the space. The space was like a mirror that shattered. Shortly after, a sky-ripping power swept the area like a tsunami. Elder Black Prison and the other junior brothers looked at one another and nodded their heads. They attacked together. 1 Dao Realm Stage 6, 3 Dao Realm Stage 5, and 2 Dao Realm Stage 4. This was already really terrifying strength, and one could say that it was shocking. Even the Alliance didn't dare to be careless. Now, that Lin Fan was fighting 6 of them alone, one could only say that he was really strong. The only one who could fight Lin Fan was Elder Black Prison. As for the others, they were just distractions. But the gap between realms could be huge or small, but one had to pay attention to the special characteristics of Dao Realm. Instantly, bright light shone and shone on the world. The light was so eye-piercing that one couldn't open their eyes. The ripples of power continued to spread. Even if many Dao Realm experts laid down a barrier, it was hard to stop the ripples from spreading. The surrounding buildings collapsed and the ground cracked. One could even see magma boiling underground. This is quite problematic. Lin Fan was calm, but deep down he was a little shocked. When these people worked together, the power they formed was quite terrifying. Attack! Elder Black Prison hollered in rage and opened his palms. Black flames jumped in the air and swept forwards. The black flames weren't hot and were even really cold. Everywhere it passed, even the dimension couldn't block it, and it froze right away. The other elders all used their own techniques. Maybe they really wanted to kill Lin Fan, so they didn't hold back at all. This was the first time Lin Fan saw something that they had never used in battle before. A series of weapons that emanated the might of the heaven and earth stood vertically in the sky, emanating a supreme might as they slashed out at Lin Fan. These were all Dao artifacts, top weapons that only Dao Realm experts could control. Moreover, they were all really rare, and normal Dao Realm experts couldn't have them. But Heaven-covering Demon Sect didn't lack them. Since you are all serious, then I won't hold back. Lin Fan activated the Chief God domain and then opened his palm. The dimension ripped open and he grabbed with his fingers. Numerous bugs swept out from the dimension. Insect Valley, Elder Black Prison was shocked. He didn't expect that Lin Fan would actually use Insect Valley's technique. But he didn't have the time to think so much. He had to kill those who had to be killed. How long? Lin Fan clashed with the many elders. Several powers clashed with one another, and a terrifying shockwave exploded. Quang Dang. Lin Fan's fist landed on a token. Suddenly, several circular ripples appeared on the token. It took Lin Fan's punch head-on without being damaged. At the same time, in the blink of an eye, several Dao patterns shot out from the token, turning into whips that lashed at Lin Fan's body. But this bit of strength wasn't enough. Pala Pala. It was a loud clang. It was like he was whipping a piece of metal. The elders were shocked, but this wasn't the time to be shocked. Their only thought was to end the battle quickly. Otherwise, if this dragged on, Heaven-covering Demon Sect would suffer even more losses. Elder Black Prison was shocked. Dual Cultivator Dao Realm Stage 3. How was that possible? He had never met anyone who could cultivate both internal and external energy to such a level. It was simply impossible. Be it time or energy, it wasn't enough. But he didn't have the time to think so much. He didn't care so much. He just had to kill Lin Fan. As time flowed, not only did the battle not end, but it became more and more intense. Pung. Two Dao realm stage, 4 elders were badly injured and their bodies smashed into the ground. They had lost, and their Dao artifacts were shattered into pieces. If one hadn't personally experienced it, no one would have been able to imagine how terrifying the two of them had suffered. If it wasn't for the Dao artifact and Black Prison and the others who shared the burden for them, these two dregs would have been smashed to pieces. As for now, it wasn't too late. Those who had to lie down still had to lie down. You were a little problematic. A wound appeared on Lin Fan's shoulder. It was a little deep and fresh blood flowed. He wasn't paying attention and was injured by Black Prison. It was just a small injury, and he didn't fear anything. He didn't use the blood demon reversal technique to recover his body. No matter what, he had to give him some hope. Black Prison's expression was solemn. Black flames surged around his body as he looked at heaven-covering demon sect situation. He gritted his teeth. Look at what you have done. Lin Fan took a look. There wasn't much to worry about. There was an area below that was in ruins, and it was even worse than the ruins. The ripples from both sides were too strong, and the barrier couldn't block it at all. It was normal for some buildings to be damaged. Don't be too emotional. Battles are like that. You can't expect everything to be perfectly fine. Moreover, to be honest, I don't have a good impression of your sex at all. But don't worry, I won't kill all of you. I'm just playing with all of you. Lin Fan said calmly. He felt that some top sects were still useful. At least they could restrict the Alliance. If not, the Alliance wouldn't just occupy such a small area. Suddenly, a sense of danger spread into his mind. Someone sneak attacked. Moreover, the person who came was really strong. He probably hid for a long time just for this chance. Chapter 472. Lin Fan's sense of danger was really strong. But Lin Fan's strength wasn't normal. If he was a normal expert, he would have reacted long ago. When he turned around and was prepared to block, a cold light struck towards his chest. It was just too quick. Lin Fan crossed his fingers in front of his body. With a clang, the cold light hit his palm, and he was unable to advance any further. If his cultivation wasn't strong enough, he would have been pierced through. Lin Fan focused. The person who sneak attacked wore a black robe with golden edges and held a spear that was surging with demonic energy. At that moment, the spear continued to give off terrifying power. Lin Fan frowned and didn't dare to be careless. At the same time, the spear's strength didn't stop and it continued to explode. Dang dang. Lin Fan retreated, and with one foot, the space around him collapsed. He cursed in rage. How despicable. You actually sneak attacked. When Black Prison saw who it was, he was delighted. Since the sect leader was here, then things would be easy. With so many of them attacking, it would be easy to kill this kid. How dare you behave so arrogantly in heaven-covering demon sect? How can I let you live? Sect leader's eyes shone brightly. He shook his wrist, and the spear started to spin, forming a terrifying energy whirlpool. It looked like a simple move, but to Lin Fan, the situation wasn't good. Dang dang. Lin Fan retreated step by step. At the same time, a shocking power spread from his legs. His hands that blocked the spear trembled and blood seeped out. Sect leader frowned like he didn't expect Lin Fan to last until now. But all of that wasn't important. Sect leader's lips moved. Celestial slaying. At that moment, the spear in sect leader's hand changed. Thick demonic energy surged, and the sky shook. Black clouds rumbled, and one could see a red light shining in the sky. How long? The light from the black clouds shrouded Lin Fan. Scoff! You overestimate yourself. Sect leader waved his arm, and a few spear sparks appeared. He placed the spear on his back and looked at everything calmly. Elder Black Prison stepped forward and said with his head lowered, Sect leader, I am useless. I didn't suppress this kid immediately and brought losses to the sect. I don't blame you. This kid's cultivation is really shocking. As expected, Lin Wani's son is extraordinary. However, there is something wrong with his brain. Even if he has grown up, he should know his place. The sect leader said. To the sect leader, Lin Wani's son's cultivation wasn't weak, but compared to his father's brain, the difference was too big. Elder Black Prison said, "Sect leader, I wonder if that kid is dead." "Dead. No one can survive the immortal murdering spear," the Grand Master said confidently. That strike just now was filled with an intense killing intent. This lad should have turned into an incomplete corpse by now. "That's true." Black Prison nodded his head. Sect leader was right. This was a top Dao artifact, and along with Sect leader's Dao Realm Stage 7 cultivation. How could he not kill this kid? Even if he faced Lin Wani, he would still be able to put up a fight. Sect leader, actually, it would be a waste to kill him. If we captured him alive, his research value would be much higher. Black Prison said regretfully. If it was possible, he wanted to spend some effort on Lin Fan to study how this kid became so strong. Scoff. The sect leader scoffed coldly. When he attacked young master, his outcome was already decided. Black Prison instantly reacted. Right, Lin Fan attacked young master. With how protective the sect leader was, how could he let him live? Naturally, he would kill him. He was thinking too much. Suddenly, a voice spread out from below. "Oi, I say, you guys are way too arrogant, aren't you? Your young master is truly fine." Lin Fan patted his body and stood there without any injuries at all. "You spear-wielding old fellow, despicable, cunning, don't be too confident." Truthfully, it was just too terrifying. Lin Fan knew that this person was definitely at Dao Realm Stage 7. That move was just too strong. If not for the recovery ability of the Blood Demon Reversal Technique, he would have knelt there. Of course, even without the Blood Demon Reversal Technique, he wouldn't have died, but he would have been badly injured. Dual Cultivator, Dao Realm Stage 3, facing a Dao Realm Stage 7 expert. There was a huge gap. Leave. Anyway, he had absorbed a lot of rage points, so it was okay for him to stay. Getting beaten up was not his style. Naturally, he would leave if he could. How was that possible? Black Prison was shocked. He didn't expect that the kid didn't die. Not only did he not die, but he was perfectly fine. From head to toe, he didn't even lose a single strand of hair. Damn, this was something that he didn't dare to believe. Not to mention that he was already stunned. Even the sect leader was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. How was he fine? Even if he didn't die after being hit by the celestial slaying spear, he definitely wouldn't have ended up like this. Goodbye. Lin Fan waved his hands. Heaven-covering demon sect's trip had ended, and it was best if they returned to their own homes. He had already obtained what he wanted. At the same time, he personally sensed the heaven-covering demon sect leader's strength. It was really terrifying. Dao Realm Stage 7 should have been the peak realm that experts could reach. As for Stage 8 and 9, no one had reached it. Lin Fan even thought about a possibility, which was that there were many hidden experts who chose to go into secluded meditation to break through to a higher realm. There was a path ahead, but they didn't know how to take it. Naturally, they would go into secluded meditation to find a path that others didn't know how to take. "Kid, where are you going?" The sect leader hollered in rage. How could he let him run? Naturally, he had to chase up and kill him. Lin Fan turned his head and waved his arm. Sword intent surged out and covered the sky. Sword seeds flew out from his body one after another. His eyes were filled with disdain, and he smiled. "If you have balls, then chase me. I'm looking forward to it." Instantly, the sect leader didn't act rashly. He sensed terrifying power from the sword intent that covered the sky. He believed that if he really chased the kid and the sword intent landed in the sect, they would suffer heavy losses. Even if the elders defended, it would be the same. "If you aren't going to chase me, then I am really leaving." Lin Fan left with a smile. The sect leader sucked in a deep breath. "Kid, I will remember you. I hope that you will be so lucky next time." Slowly, when Lin Fan stepped into the dimension, he waved his arm and clenched his fingers. Not good. The sword seeds instantly covered the sect leader and the others. With a loud explosion, the sword seeds exploded and the chaotic sword intent ripped apart everything around. "Damn thing." The sect leader hollered. He stood in the air unharmed and his gaze was dark and cold. As expected, it was really strong. His choice just now was the right one. "Junior brothers, Elder Black Prison saw his three junior brothers fall from the sky with their eyes rolled back and their bodies covered in blood. He immediately caught them. He probed and heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, their lives weren't in danger. The sect leader clenched his fists and his face was dark and sunken. Black Prison, heaven-covering demon sect, stop the war with Celestial Alliance and gather all our strength to find this kid. I want to turn his bones to dust. Black Prison frowned. Sect leader, will the other evil alliance sects be unhappy if we do that? The war between the four alliances was really intense. The reason for fighting was always so random. But since they had already started, there was no turning back and they could only continue to fight. What is there to be unhappy about? Heaven-covering demon sect isn't the only one who didn't join in. Think about Celestial Alliance's Guasian Island and Buddha Alliance's White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain. During this period of time, have you seen them fight? To be able to reach the position of the sect leader, one had to be really meticulous. For example, Guasian Island was jumping around at the start, but then they disappeared. That meant that there was a huge problem, although he wasn't sure what the reason was. Thinking about it, there weren't many of them. Black Prison thought about it and frowned. That had seemed to be the case. Don't worry, sect leader, I understand. The sect leader nodded and looked at the situation below. He was furious. That jerk actually destroyed heaven-covering demon sect to such a state. He really deserved to die. He deserved to die. The reason why he could not wait to find Lin Fan and kill him right now was because he had seen the potential of the other party. He was really terrifying. He was 10 times, 100 times more terrifying than Lin Wani. He thought about how Lin Fan was able to escape today. What would happen after a period of time? No one would be able to stop him, and the entire sect would be wiped out in an instant. A few days later, what happened to heaven-covering demon sect spread throughout Evil Alliance. Not only Evil Alliance, but the other 3 alliances and even the Alliance all found out about it. After all, the shockwaves above heaven-covering demon sect wouldn't lie. Looking at the tragic state of heaven-covering demon sect, it was just so terrifying. Who would dare to cause trouble here? Who would dare to imagine that? Under the investigation of some people, they found out that the person who caused trouble at heaven-covering demon sect was actually the wanted Lin Fan. All of them were shocked. They were filled with disbelief. He caused trouble in heaven-covering demon sect, and even the sect leader personally attacked. To be able to let Lin Fan escape, how strong was he? That wasn't something that normal people could imagine. Especially when Evil Spirit Old Ancestor from 9 Evil Spirit Hall found out about it. Who knew if he was gloating or if he was worried about it? His Blood Lotus was taken by Lin Fan, and he was greatly affected. From then on, he hated and hated Lin Fan. He wanted to drink his blood and eat his flesh. But Lin Fan's strength was just too unreasonable, and he was helpless. He could only swear that one day he would make Lin Fan pay the price. But now that heaven-covering demon sect was in trouble, his mood became slightly better. After all, he wasn't the only one who was unlucky, and there was someone to accompany him. Hayes. But when he thought about his own situation, he sighed. What a waste. Sometimes he wanted to smack his stupid head. Why do you have to act cool and take out the Blood Lotus to show off? He underestimated Lin Fan and ended up taking a huge loss. If the heavens gave him another chance, he swore to the heavens. If he acted cool, he would be a dog. P.S. I have rested for a long time. Tomorrow, I will work hard to get back to my previous update rate. Chapter 473. Recently, the Alliance headquarters seized the chance when the 4 alliances were fighting to attack some normal sections. At the start, the Alliance headquarters occupied 31 Imperial Dynasty cities. During this period of time, the Alliance headquarters occupied 40. The speed at which the Alliance headquarters occupied territory was too quick. If no one stopped them and they continued to occupy, the outcome would be catastrophic. When the time came, half of the territory would be taken away by the Alliance headquarters. The peace faction in the Alliance slowly disappeared. The Alliance suffered a huge blow, and even some of the Alliance members who supported the peace faction started to change. Their hearts changed, and they felt that it was a good idea to fight. Till now, they hadn't faced any problems, and the Alliance headquarters was having a smooth journey. Large amounts of resources were transported back, and the lack of resources within the Alliance was alleviated. In the face of huge benefits, some members of the peace faction gradually disappeared and joined the ranks of the pro-war faction. In the Alliance meeting room, a bunch of 9-star generals gathered here. We have noticed the gathering place of the city defense members. We should wipe them all out. As one of the strongest 9-star generals, Zhu Daoshan hadn't had a good time recently. The main reason was that he hadn't done much. Wu Zhiga kept silent and didn't say much. But he agreed with this mission. Most of the problems the Alliance headquarters faced were caused by the defense members. They hid in the dark and found a chance to attack to stop the Alliance. Although the Alliance killed many of them, they also caused huge problems for the Alliance headquarters, and they lost many people. If not for them, the Alliance headquarters wouldn't have only occupied 40 cities. Even 50 or 60 wouldn't have been a problem. Marshal Crimson Firmament said, "This marshal thinks it's time to take action and suppress all these remnants." Yeah, I agree too. Now is a good time. The 4 alliances don't have time to restrict us, and we can use some energy to deal with the remaining people. Once we deal with them, we can gather the alliance's fighting strength and occupy. The 9-star generals gathered here all wanted to fight. The resources were just too huge. When they saw the resources transported back from the rich land, they had never expected that they would feel so good. At the same time, they agreed with why the rich land was called that. It was really rich. It was temple. Abbess Miaojian's expression was gloomy, and her heart was filled with grief. She descended from the distance while carrying a corpse. The surrounding disciples quickly gathered around, wanting to ask about the situation outside. However, when they saw the corpse in Nun Miaojian's arms, everyone was dumbfounded. "Senior sister," someone recognized the corpse. It was Yu Yunmeng, their senior sister. She was the personal disciple of Abbess Miaojian. She had entered the sect relatively late, but no one expected such a thing to happen. "Master Miaojian, what happened to senior sister?" a disciple asked. They could not accept such an outcome. Last time, senior marshal's sister brought a man back. Master Miaojian was furious. In the end, the man left was temple. No one knew where he went, but the disciples who were close to senior marshal's sister knew that the man lived on a mountain near was temple. Thinking about it, it seemed to have been a month. Nun Miaojian shook her head and didn't say much. She walked towards the Wiz temple. The group of disciples looked at each other in dismay. Master brought senior sister to defend against the Alliance. Then, they didn't dare to think about it. They all knew that the Alliance was a dangerous existence. Now that senior sister had become like that, it could only mean that something bad had happened to her when she fought against the Alliance. Li Mountain, evil god Zhenming, was one of the higher-ups of Hell Mountain and was terrifyingly strong. Since that battle, he hadn't left rich land and had been staying here. At that moment, Zhenming sat by the shore and held a fishing rod in his hand. He shook his wrist, and a fat fish broke out of the water and was pulled up. "Not bad." Zhenming smiled. This was a huge change from the dark and evil him in the past. Suddenly, a figure hurriedly ran over from afar. Brother Zhenming. It was a teen who ran over. She had no experience in the mortal world, so she didn't enter Wiz temple. But she was already a disciple. Zhenming looked towards the voice and knew who it was. However, his expression didn't change much. He stayed here not because of Yu Yunmeng, but because he felt a bit of release in his heart. He didn't have many thoughts about returning to Hell Mountain and just wanted to stay here for a while to experience life. "Why are you here?" Zhenming asked. He continued to cast the hook. The hook landed in the water and didn't move at all. The teen looked at Zhenming and wasn't afraid because of the patterns on his face. Instead, she sobbed, senior sister," but before she finished, Zhenming interrupted her. "Don't mention her in front of me." Zhenming rejected. Others might not know what happened between the man in front of her and her senior sister, but she knew everything. Senior sister rejected him because of Wiz temple. People from 2 different worlds wouldn't be together. "Go back," This isn't a place for you to stay. The teen hollered, "Senior sister is dead." Puh! Jinming's arm shook, and ripples spread out from the hook. But very quickly, the ripples disappeared. He kept silent for a long while, and no one could tell what he was thinking. He just replied calmly, "Oh, so what if she's dead? What does it have to do with me?" Jinming replied, cleanly without any emotions at all. But if one looked closely, one would notice that the patterns on his face were shaking and his arm was shaking at a speed that couldn't be seen by the naked eye. How did this happen? The teen sat on the ground and looked at Jinming in disbelief. "You like my senior sister?" Jinming glanced at the teen and smiled. "You like it?" "No, I don't like her. I was just curious about her in the past. Now that I am not curious, I don't like her." "All right, who killed her?" "Impossible, impossible. You aren't the big brother Jinming I know." "The big brother Jinming I know shouldn't be so heartless." The teen shook her head and didn't reply to Jinming. Jinming frowned. "I am asking you, who killed her?" At that moment, Jinming's voice was a little dark and sunken. It struck the teen's heart and terrified her. She climbed up and ran back. "It is the Alliance, it is the Alliance. You aren't the big brother Jinming I know. I hate you." Jinming looked at her slowly disappearing body. His originally expressionless face suddenly underwent a shocking change. "Damn!" He raised the fishing rod in his hand and smashed it towards the lake. Pong! The lake's surface exploded and numerous dead fish appeared. How did this happen? Jinming clenched his fists and his eyes were filled with blood. Green veins appeared on the surface of his skin and vengeful energy rose up, causing the space around to twist. That night, the night was silent. In a room, the lights were dim and a corpse laid there. The sound of footsteps spread out. A hand was placed on Yu Yuming's face. Not long later, the hand slowly disappeared, and it was as if no one had come to the room at all. In another room, Nun Miaojin seemed to have sensed something and opened her eyes. Her gaze seemed to be looking at Yu Yuming's location. After a long while, Nun Miaojin closed her eyes and didn't move at all. In a certain forest, flames lit up the area. During the period of time Lin Fan left heaven covering demon sect, he became more well-behaved. His rage points didn't change from start to now. In his own words, the feeling of owning a top sect and causing trouble was really too great. Look at his rage points, it was just so terrifying. Rage points, 1500355. It reached 1,000,000 right away. It was really stable to use it to raise Dao Realm techniques. Improve. To raise one Dao Realm technique required 210,000 rage points. With his current rage points, it was enough to raise 7 Dao Realm techniques. From 90 Dao patterns, he gained another 7. Now that he had reached 97, he was very close to reaching 100. Lin Fan cultivated and merged the Dao patterns into his body. He was really satisfied with his own strength. Dao Realm Stage 5 was easy to suppress. As for Dao Realm Stage 6, he still needed some methods. As for Stage 7, it was really terrifying. Especially when he faced peak Stage 7 experts like the heaven-covering demon sect leader. His strength was just too shocking. When the spear struck, it was tough for one to block. If one was a dual cultivator and had 90 Dao patterns, one's foundations would have reached a shocking level. Any dual cultivator at Dao Realm Stage 3 would have died to him. At that moment, Lin Fan was thinking about where he should go next. Evil Alliance and Celestial Alliance had caused trouble. As for Buddha Alliance and Monster Alliance, there was no need for them to do anything. His own thoughts were simple, which was to find trouble with the Alliance. If he ranked them based on hatred, the other 4 alliances would have to stand to the side. The one he really had a huge conflict with was the Alliance headquarters. If it wasn't for the Alliance headquarters, then such a thing wouldn't have happened. Lin Fan was peacefully living as a rich young master in Yu City and didn't need to worry about food and drinks. But regretfully, because of the Alliance's arrival, his days were all destroyed. Even his father was lost by him. He was really confident in his own strength, and even if he faced the strongest 9-star generals, he wouldn't be afraid. So what if he couldn't beat them? Could they kill him? He didn't have the ability to fight them head-on, but he knew how to run. He would change places, and even if he did, he would destroy the Alliance. Lin Fan got up and looked around. He was still in the evil alliance territory, so he had to rush through the night and enter the alliance territory. He hadn't returned to U City in a long time, and it was time to take a look at the situation there. If it was possible, he didn't mind teaching the alliance members who occupied U City a lesson. He wanted to tell them that they were finished. P.S. I really want to promote a book called Just Want to Be Low Profile. It was written by my good brother in real life, and he just wrote it. I have to help him promote it. Everyone, vote for him and give him some motivation. Thank you. Leave some comments, leave some recommendation votes, and so on. Chapter 474. Sniff. Sniff. This smell is close to home. Lin Fan took in a deep breath. Although he wasn't in U City, this place was similar. Anyway, it was different from the air outside. But along the way, the thing that Lin Fan was unhappy about was the fact that the once beautiful scenery had been destroyed. All that was left were many giant holes that turned into a wilderness. Damn Alliance members. They actually destroyed the scenery of his home. They really deserved to die. Suddenly, a cry for help spread out from afar. It sounded like a girl. So unlucky. He wasn't interested in being a hero and saving a beauty. The main reason was that he was afraid of trouble. But this was Alliance territory, and basically only Alliance members moved. If a girl was being chased, then the person chasing was definitely an Alliance member. Regarding this, he absolutely could not tolerate it. Here, girls were rare. Take a look at the people around him. Which one of them had a partner? They were all single. If they didn't want to get closer, they would get further away. Uncle Wu, Zhang Sheng, etc. Which one of them wasn't single? He didn't think so much about it. Every second he wasted was one more minute of danger for the girl. Lin Fan wasn't someone who liked to be a busybody, but when he faced such a situation, no matter who it was, he had to help. In the distance, "Girl, stop running. You won't be able to escape." Hee hee, I didn't expect the natives to have such a beautiful girl. I'm so lucky. A woman looked flustered, but she didn't lose her attractiveness. Not far behind the girl, there were 3 men in hot pursuit. These 3 men were ugly and had wretched expressions. Anyone who saw them would have the urge to beat them up. One would even have a feeling. If such a beautiful girl fell into the hands of the 3 of them, it would be a waste. No, someone save me. The girl shouted in panic. Her voice was really gentle, and it made one want to protect her. Not far away, Lin Fan wanted to save the girl, but all of a sudden, he felt that something was wrong. He looked at the 3 men and saw that they were all cultivators. Then, he looked at the girl. She was clearly a weak girl who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. She was just a weak girl. He frowned. Damn it. 3 men with cultivation couldn't even catch up to a woman without cultivation. Even a fool wouldn't believe it if he told this to them. There's a problem. Let's keep looking. I keep feeling that something is wrong. Lin Fan wasn't in a rush to attack. He wasn't a fool, and he knew that something wasn't right. It was rare for a hero to save a beauty. Moreover, this was Alliance territory, so why would a girl appear in the wilderness? That didn't make sense. But it was true. Those 3 men were really infuriating. They attracted too much hatred, and their expressions were as wretched as they could be. If it was an ordinary person, he would definitely not be able to hold it in and would directly attack. He would jump out and appear in front of the girl like an unparalleled hero stepping on colorful, auspicious clouds. In just a few moves, he would defeat the 3 men and win the girl. Logically speaking, this was the normal situation. Lin Fan hid in the dark, not anxious or impatient. He was just wasting some time. Time ticked by. The situation in the distance changed drastically. I'm not running anymore. I can't run anymore. The girl bent her back and panted. Sweat flowed down her forehead, and she waved her hands towards the guy behind her. Can't you chase slower? Why are you chasing so quickly? It would be too fake if we were slower. It has only been an hour, so why can't we run anymore? The guy frowned. In his heart, he felt that the girl was too pretentious and couldn't even hold on for such a short period of time. I'm a girl. All of you have cultivation, but I don't. Although the natives are stupid, they aren't that stupid, okay? The girl was unhappy. If not for the Alliance headquarters instructing her, she wouldn't have wanted to suffer like this. The guy said no. The Alliance headquarters analyzed it. The natives have a high sense of justice, especially those at the border. They won't sit still and do nothing. This is the best method to attract them out. The woman didn't say much. She naturally understood this point. This wasn't the first time, and she had succeeded a few times in the past. There were natives who took the initiative to jump out when encountering such a situation. She was a woman who didn't even have the strength to trust a chicken, so how could she arouse the suspicion of others? Thus, she basically succeeded 100% of the time. Lin Fan, who was hiding in the dark, was tongue-tied. Damn, as I expected, I didn't expect the Alliance to be so scheming. Lin Fan was most afraid of people playing with his head. Now that the Alliance was starting to do such things, how terrifying was it? If Cousin was beside him, he would have beaten up these few people. But he learned some secrets from their conversation. There were also border experts hiding in the Alliance territory, who knew whether or not Zhao Lishan and the others were there. Sword Palace Head was also defending against the Alliance. If they gathered together, they would be a terrifying force. Maybe they had rested long enough. They started to act to attract people to save the damsel in distress. If there wasn't anyone here, then they would go somewhere else. He couldn't allow them to continue like that. Since that was the case, then he had to do something. The woman was still trying her best to call for help, and the three men behind her were also chasing her wretchedly. Honestly speaking, after acting for a long time, it felt really good. Just at that moment, footsteps spread out from the distance. The three guys with some cultivation looked at one another and were delighted. Someone was hooked, and the show continued. Who? The three of them hollered in rage and looked into the distance. Slowly, a person walked over. It was like the girl had seen her lifesaver. She cried and ran in front of Lin Fan. "Young master, save me, they want to." Woo woo woo. She was weeping like a pear blossom in the rain, and anyone who saw her would feel pity for her. A normal man would naturally hold his head high and puff out his chest to protect the delicate woman behind him and reprimand the three shameless people. In broad daylight, actually did such beastly actions. That was something that couldn't be tolerated. Lin Fan smiled. "Don't worry. With me here, you don't need to run." His smile was as bright as the sun. The girl's heart shook. What a warm smile, but what a waste. The goal of the three men was not to capture Lin Fan, but to catch a big fish. What was the use of one person? They wanted to make the other party believe that the woman was in trouble, and then they would bring the woman back and catch them all. "Who are you?" one of the perverted guys asked. Lin Fan said, "I'm just passing by." "Passing by?" The perverted guy scoffed coldly. "Kid, I advise you to be smart and hand the girl over. If not, I will teach you a lesson." When the girl heard this, she shrunk back. Her slender jade hands tugged at Lin Fan's sleeves and said pitifully, "Young master, save me. If I am caught by them, my innocence will be ruined by them." There was a lot of information in those words. Innocence meant that she was still clean and hadn't been ruined. Young master, saving her meant that he would get a pure and flawless me. As for the word desecrate, it made one's imagination run wild, and there was a hint of movement. Suddenly, a shocking scene happened. Lin Fan grabbed the girl's wrist and then pushed her forwards. "Please, do as you please." They were stunned. The three guys were stunned. This was different from what they expected. It wasn't according to the script, and it was a little terrifying. Not only were they stunned, but the girl in the middle also stopped crying. When she came back to her senses, she knelt down and cried, acting pitiful. "Kid, what do you mean?" The perverted guy frowned and asked. Naturally, he didn't treat his words seriously. At the same time, he thought to himself, was he acting? Impossible. How could they find out that he was acting? There had to be something going on. Maybe the kid felt that he couldn't beat the three of them alone, so he used a plan. Yeah, that was possible. If he knew that this would happen, he wouldn't have chased with the three of them. He would have chased alone to give him some confidence. Lin Fan twisted his neck, and his expression slowly changed. He said unhappily, "Damn, I walked for a month and didn't even see a single girl. I heard some noise here, so I came to take a look. Not bad. This girl is really interesting. But as the saying goes, First come, first serve. Since you all found her, then you all can go first. After you are done, I will go and I will definitely make her scream. F***ck your mother. Was he still human? Or was he a righteous native that the Alliance analyzed? He was just too evil. Young master, you. The girl looked at Lin Fan in disbelief. She forgot to cry once more. The situation had changed a little, and it shouldn't have been like this. Lin Fan smiled. His smile was a little evil, like he had found prey. His gaze was really aggressive, and the girl's body tensed up. The perverted guy thought about it. How could it be like what Lin Fan said? Kid, are you playing with us? Brothers, let's kill him. They didn't expect that they would face such a person. But even if the situation changed slightly, it wouldn't stop them from doing what they were about to do. As for what happened next, he would leave it to her. The three of them were really weak. If he attacked, he would be able to instantly kill them. But he was used to giving them chances. Pung. The three of them didn't know what happened. They only felt that the scene in front of them changed, and they flew backward, smashing into the ground. So strong. That was the only thing they felt, but they were still able to stay conscious. So weak. Lin Fan was filled with disdain. He walked in front of the girl, whose mouth was agape. He reached out and touched her chin. Voila! Lin Fan grabbed her leg and dragged her into the distance. Feels good. This feels so good. The girl reacted, and her expression was one of panic. She was even so terrified that she peed her pants. She cried out and reached out towards her three companions who were lying on the ground. Save me! Save me! The three of them got up and exchanged glances with one another. They personally witnessed the girl being dragged into the depths, but they couldn't do anything. What should we do? One of them asked. He was really stunned. They tried so many times, but this was the most terrifying. What else can we do? It is worth it to sacrifice everything for the success of the Alliance. I believe that she is mentally prepared, but she is shouting for help. She is just trying to confuse them. Trust her. She can definitely do it. As for what happens next, it is just a reversal of the process, right? P.S. With a knife on my neck, I have no choice. Let's promote, just want to be low profile once more. Let's go take a look. Chapter 475. Don't do this. Please don't do this. Young master saved me, and I am really grateful. I am willing to do anything for you. Naturally, I am yours, but I can't. Please don't be so impatient. The girl's face turned ashen white, and she sensed that something terrifying and cruel was about to happen. No, it wasn't a feeling, but it was actually happening. She was tied to a tree, and the way she was tied was really unique. But one could use one sentence to describe why she was wearing Pinra's clothes. The girl looked at Lin Fan in terror. The scenes that were about to happen appeared in her mind. It was really embarrassing, and it was hard to describe with words. Kakik. Lin Fan didn't bother about her, and just gave out a chilling laugh. The girl felt like she was about to die here. If she could return alive, she would definitely beat those people who said that the natives were righteous people. Was this the righteousness that he was talking about? Not long later, the binding was over. Lin Fan said, "Do you have anything to say to me?" The girl thought that he would start right away and torture her to death. She was prepared to treat it like she was F***ed by a dog. In her heart, she was willing to sacrifice herself for the Alliance. Young master, you saved me, so from now on, I am yours. Why are you so anxious? Can you put me down? The girl said pitifully. Facing such a perverted person, she could only act even more pitiful. She wouldn't believe the analysis of the Alliance headquarters anymore. It was all a lie. Lin Fan shook his head. Not that, something else. People nowadays were just too dishonest. Since the Alliance wanted to play tricks, then he would play with them. He didn't believe that he couldn't beat them. The girl blinked her eyes in shock. She was really lost and innocent. Something else? There was really nothing else. Young master, I don't know what you mean. Continue acting. Lin Fan smiled. You are from the Alliance, right? Shock. The girl looked at Lin Fan in disbelief. He knew where she came from. Impossible. How did he know? Young master, I really don't know what you're talking about. The girl didn't admit it and acted dumb. Maybe if she acted a little better, she would be able to get away with it. Lin Fan raised his hand and pointed at the girl. He looked around, searching for something. After looking for a long time, he didn't find anything suitable. Thinking about it, it was hard to find something in the wilderness. If you have the guts, show me what you're up to. The bug-controlling technique Aura spread out and started a search for a target. In the end, he found it and locked onto the male wolf who was trying his best to make a human. The woman shook her head, still pretending not to know anything. She didn't know what she was going to face next, but as a special talent of the Alliance headquarters, she had gone through professional training and was able to face everything without changing her expression. Even if the other party used some kind of terrifying method, rough, panting sounds could be heard. The woman looked into the distance, and her heart tightened. What was that? Damn it. How could there be such a terrifying wolf? After the buff of the bug-controlling technique, the wolf that was originally thigh-high grew to the height of a human. It looked really terrifying, and disgusting saliva flowed out of its sharp teeth. This is a male wolf that was just with a female wolf. I brought him here halfway. If you don't tell me, then what happens next has nothing to do with me. You can do whatever you want. Lin Fan said. His methods were really cruel and perverted. Moreover, he had no bottom line. Young master, don't do that. The woman's pupils constricted, and she broke out in a cold sweat. She didn't dare to imagine what was going to happen next. Lin Fan didn't bother and waved his hands. The human-sized wolf stared at the woman with green eyes and pounced towards her. Such a perverted scene naturally frightened the woman so much that she didn't care about her professionalism. I will speak, the woman screamed in fear. When the wolf arrived in front of the woman, it stopped. I am from the Alliance. The woman didn't hide anything and directly revealed her identity. Lin Fan said, Why didn't you say so earlier? I don't like to do anything to women, especially people like you who have no strength at all. Killing you is an insult to me. How did you contact the Alliance? He knew that the woman could contact the Alliance. What? The woman was stunned and didn't understand what Lin Fan meant. But when she saw Lin Fan's gaze, her heart shook and she didn't dare to hide anymore. There's a chip under my skin that can send my location to the headquarters. The Alliance and Rich Land didn't speak the same language, but the Alliance's technology level was really high, and they had spread the language of Rich Land to the education platform. As for whether or not he understood the chip, she didn't lie. Lin Fan's guess was right. As expected, that was the case. The other party's trick was indeed very easy to trick. A woman with no cultivation was in danger, and someone saved her. Even if she was suspicious, thinking about how she had no cultivation, she would relax. Lin Fan would then take the chance to trick her. Lin Fan released the woman and told the wolf to leave. You should have said so earlier. Then, we wouldn't have wasted time. Contact them and tell them to come over. But don't play any tricks, otherwise you will have to bear the consequences. The woman was shocked and didn't expect him to have such a request. She always thought that he would kill her to hide from the Alliance. Who knew that he would ask to fight the Alliance head-on? She didn't understand what he was thinking, but it didn't matter. She just wanted to satisfy his arrogant thoughts. The woman tapped the skin on her wrist like there was a button there. Lin Fan paid attention to the situation around. This was the Alliance's territory, and based on what the Alliance wanted, they would definitely install some equipment around. But he had dragged her here for a period of time, and no Alliance experts had come. That meant that there was no equipment here at all. Was it because the hidden border guards knew about the existence of the equipment, so they dismantled the equipment that they discovered? That was possible, but he wasn't too sure. Alliance main camp. A bunch of workers looked at the screen in front of them. Suddenly, a red light lit up and rows of data appeared on the screen. Shortly after, a three-dimensional map appeared. We have discovered that the natives are hiding at 32, 85 degrees, 34, 2 degrees north latitude, 119, 57 degrees, 120, 45 degrees east longitude. It is of a high grade, and there are Dao realm experts there. General Qi Xiao immediately ordered to arrange for several Dao realm experts and some below to wipe out the natives. The signal that the woman sent to the Alliance was of the highest grade. She couldn't see through what was going on with this person, but she felt that he was definitely dangerous. Naturally, she didn't dare to be careless and hoped that a bunch of experts would come save her. Just as she was thinking about all this, she realized that Lin Fan was tying her up, and she exclaimed, "Young master, what are you doing? I did everything you told me to. Don't be nervous. I was afraid that you would run." Lin Fan said. Yin #%. The girl wanted to scold him. She had no strength at all and was already in his hands. So how could she run? How could she be so shameless? But she had no choice. She was in his hands and had no ability to fight back at all, so it was best for her to be well behaved. At the same time, what she was most furious about were her 3 companions. They knew that she was in danger, but they didn't come to save her. "Damn, do I look familiar to you?" Lin Fan asked. The Alliance had been hunting him down. Logically speaking, since these people were able to do the mission here, they should have seen his arrest warrant. But since they didn't recognize him, that made him a little unhappy. No matter what, Lin Fan, was once a person in the limelight. Now that he stood in front of her for such a long time without being recognized, that was a little embarrassing. He felt like he had lost a lot of face. The girl looked at Lin Fan in terror. She really didn't recognize him. Slowly, she frowned. "You." Lin Fan smiled and nodded. It was obvious that she recognized him. "I really don't know who you are." The girl shook her head. She thought for a long while and really couldn't think of anyone. The smile on Lin Fan's face retracted, and he was a little unhappy. She didn't know who he was? What was wrong with the Alliance? They had already ordered him to be hunted down, but they didn't let everyone know. Did they really not care about him at all? Killing intent appeared in Lin Fan's heart. This wasn't killing intent towards the girl, but towards the Alliance. Maybe only by doing something that would cause the Alliance to collapse would they respect him. Suddenly, Lin Fan sensed the dimension fluctuation. It should be in the distance. It seemed like the people from the Alliance were here. They didn't come here because they wanted to scout the situation. "They are here," Lin Fan said to the girl. She was delighted and then said pitifully, "Young master, I have done what you told me to do. Can you let me live?" "Okay, no problem," Lin Fan said. In the distance, several 9-star generals hid carefully. As for the generals, they followed behind. The natives hiding in the Alliance territory were all experts from the border defense. They weren't weak, and they couldn't be careless. If they faced a top expert, they would need the support of the Alliance headquarters. Very quickly, the 9-star generals looked at the person in the distance. Just one person? Hong Yin frowned and felt that something wasn't right. "I will attack later. If the situation is bad, we will retreat right away and inform the Alliance headquarters to send the strongest 9-star generals over." Yeah, looking at the situation, it should be a young man. It is best to be careful. There are many experts at the border. They had all fought with them before, and some of them were really strong. The one that left a deep impression was an old priest who was really amazing. Hong Yan's expression was solemn. He raised his hand, and a sharp energy whirlpool gathered in his palm. He then tossed it into the distance. The whirlpool entered the dimension, and there was no sound at all. In the blink of an eye, it appeared behind Lin Fan. Lin Fan tilted his head, and the whirlpool shot over. With a piercing sound, it sliced the girl tied to the tree into 2. "What?" Hong Yin was shocked. He didn't expect him to react so quickly. Lin Fan turned his head. "All of you are a little cruel." Chapter 476. Lin Fan looked at the girl who died and felt a little helpless. He couldn't be blamed for this. He was someone who kept his promise. If he said that he wouldn't kill her, then he wouldn't. But if her own people killed her, then he couldn't be blamed. Who knew that this would happen? What a waste. But she didn't die for nothing. Those people who were conned by him were probably waiting for him down there. Hong Yin and the other 9-star generals were shocked that Lin Fan could dodge. As for who died, it didn't matter. Much less a girl with no cultivation at all. The situation was a little off, but Hong Yin didn't retreat. After all, there was only one person. They had so many generals, so how could they not take down a kid? You even killed your own people. Don't you feel guilty at all? Lin Fan looked at the people who came. He had attracted them over. But one had to say that the Alliance really prepared well. 4 9-star generals came, and 10 generals came. This was really terrifying combat strength. But what a waste. To Lin Fan, These few people weren't enough at all. They weren't even enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Lin Fan realized that the way the old man looked at him was a little off, like he was thinking about something. This made him a little emotional. Did they recognize him? I should try to ask him, probably to satisfy the vanity in his heart. Do you recognize who I am? Lin Fan asked. He was a little arrogant. If other people were wanted by the Alliance headquarters, they would have peed their pants and hid wherever they could. How would they dare to provoke an Alliance 9-star general? At that moment, not only did Hong Yin recognize who Lin Fan was, but so did the others. It's you. Hong Yin was shocked, and the wanted poster appeared in his mind. Lin Wanni's son, Lin Fan, I didn't expect you to have the courage to step into Alliance territory. Apart from expanding the map, the Alliance headquarters have been searching for Lin Fan. Based on their analysis, Lin Fan's existence was a hidden danger to the Alliance. If they noticed him, they definitely couldn't let him live. Lin Fan was unhappy. I'm not happy with your words. What son of Lin Wanni? I am Lin Fan. Why don't I have the courage to step in? Let me tell you, not only have I stepped in, but I will also make your Alliance cry for your parents. Preposterous. Hong Yin hollered. Lin Fan, there's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. There's no door to hell, but you insist on coming. Then, don't even think about letting me leave. The reason they came here was to wipe out the natives at the border in one go. Even though he didn't meet any natives at the border, it wasn't a loss to be able to kill Lin Wanni's son. Killing him early would save him trouble in the future. Ha ha, what a joke. A Dao Realm stage, 4 dares to say such words in front of me. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Attack together, otherwise, you won't have a chance. Lin Fan raised his hand and made a humiliating gesture. It was as if he was saying that he wanted to fight 10 of them. Rage points exploded. Hong Yin was furious. For the sake of his dignity, how could an Alliance 9-star general accept such humiliation? Kill. A strong killing intent rose up, and the space around Hong Yin gradually twisted. A terrifying aura burned on his body, making him look like a peerless demon god. Kid, since you are asking to die, then I shall grant you your wish. Hong Yin hollered in rage, and a 10,000-foot light exploded from his body. It was so blinding that one couldn't even open their eyes. At that moment, a giant body appeared above Hong Yan's head. It was the astronomical phenomenon body, and it gave off a really strong aura that could destroy heaven and earth. Die. The giant body punched forwards, causing the space around to twist and shatter. A strong energy wave ripped through the area, and the dimension appeared. This fist contained the most terrifying power of a Dao Realm stage for expert. Lin Fan was really calm. He raised his head and looked out. The aura was indeed shocking, but that was it. There wasn't much else to it. At that moment, Lin Fan clenched his fingers and muttered, "If such strength can make you think about suppressing me, then I can only say that you are a little too naive." The moment he said this, he punched out fiercely. Hong Long. The sky was ripped apart, and the dimension shattered. A bright aura roared forwards and pressed down on Hong Yan's body. What? Hong Yin was shocked. He felt an unstoppable power sweep towards him that he couldn't block at all. There was a loud explosion. Hong Yan's astronomical phenomenon body shattered, and he felt intense pain all over his body. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Lin Fan stood on the spot without moving at all. Everything in front of him was covered by the fist light, and he couldn't see what was going on. But one didn't need to think to know that the situation wasn't good. Alliance headquarters. DD. General, there's an energy whirlpool at the place where Hong Yin and the others are heading to. The energy has reached peak Dao Realm Stage 6, and it is really dangerous. The technician looked at the screen in panic. A dark red cloud appeared on the screen, and at the same time, data analysis appeared. What? General Qi Shao was shocked like he had seen a ghost. Peak Dao Realm Stage 6 strength? Then forest. What kind of power is that? What fist technique is that? How is it so strong? General Hong Yin spat out fresh blood, and his shirt was ripped apart. Only his underwear was left, and it fluttered in the wind. He was in a bad state, and he fell to the ground. It was as if he had just come out of a mental hospital. Behind him, The generals and 9-star generals were in a tragic state too. They didn't take it head-on, but when the ripples spread towards them, they felt an unstoppable force land on their bodies, and they couldn't block it at all. Thus, their outcome wasn't any better. All of them laid on the ground and rolled around. "I'm a little unhappy with your strength." Lin Fan shook his head. What a despicable fellow. In the past, 9-star generals were so out of his reach. Moreover, a Dao Realm Stage 4 9-star general was an unscalable mountain to him. Hong Yin was in a frenzied state. He was totally convinced by Lin Fan's strength. How strong and terrifying was that? But because of that, he was traumatized. Lin Fan walked towards Hong Yin and the others. He wasn't prepared to give him a chance. He needed to raise his reputation in the Alliance headquarters and let them understand how stupid it was to let them do whatever they wanted. Thus, only by killing some 9-star generals would they understand. He looked down at Hong Yin from above. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He attacked like lightning. Puchi! Puchi! His fingers were like sharp blades that pierced through everything in front of him. That didn't reach Dao Realm Stage 6 Undying Body. Otherwise, he would have to spend a lot of effort to kill them. Lin Fan grabbed with his fingers and left with the corpses. What happened next was a little arrogant, but he definitely wouldn't be sending them to their deaths. Instead, he would be giving the Alliance a huge gift. A long while later, the Alliance 9-star generals arrived. General Qi Xiao was just a Dao Realm Stage 5 expert, but he had no choice. Zhu Daoxin and the others had gone to wipe out the border natives, so how could there be so many 9-star generals? If they were deployed, time was of the essence, and they wouldn't be able to make it in time. But when he arrived and saw the scenes in front of him, he knew that it was too late. The battle had ended. General Qi Xiao was stunned for a moment, and then his face turned dark and sunken. "Investigate. Investigate for me. You must find the culprit." The Alliance members who followed all shivered. They sensed how terrifying the aura from General Qi Xiao's body was. He was really on the verge of exploding. Yes, General Qi Xiao didn't know who did it. If he knew that it was Lin Fan, his mouth would have been agape from shock. After all, his improvement speed was just too quick. East Forest. Lin Fan came to a familiar place, and naturally, he reminisced about the past. The Yin demons were so friendly and provided him with large amounts of rage points. But at this moment, this place was really quiet. It was totally silent, and there was no sound at all. The trees weren't like before, giving one a dark and sinister feeling. A few streaks of sunlight shone in and brought a bit of light. The Yin demons are all gone. Lin Fan shook his head and felt that there was a high chance that the Yin demons were killed by the Alliance. What a waste. He was someone who was nostalgic. Although the enemies in the past were annoying, they were decent people. Now that they disappeared just like that, he felt a little reluctant. He left the East Forest. There was a loud explosion. In the distance, one could see that there were large machines operating. The ground shook and a thick layer of dust rose up. They are destroying the environment. Lin Fan was really unhappy. For a good place to be dug up by the dogs of the Alliance, that was just so annoying. Forget it. He would let them off and settle the things at hand before dealing with them. U City. Lin Fan floated in the air. This was his old home, and he enjoyed the life of a rich family young master. But because of the Alliance, he lost everything. Just thinking about it made him furious. City Alliance Meeting Hall. This wasn't the main camp of the Alliance, and could only be considered an important contact point. Like the other cities, after occupying this place, they would use it as a base to slowly eat up the rich land. At this moment, at the gate, 2 Alliance guards were casually chatting. Their days were boring and boring. The Alliance had gained a foothold in the rich land and didn't have many enemies. Even if they did, they wouldn't care. They knew that the 4 alliances were at war. They would let them fight, and when both sides suffered heavy losses, it would be time for the Alliance to occupy them. As for the Imperial Dynasty, naturally, one didn't need to say much. They were puppets that the Alliance raised and could do whatever they wanted. They could vent all their unhappiness on them. This made them feel really proud as members of the Alliance. Suddenly, a corpse fell from the sky. With a thud, it landed on the ground. The two alliance members jumped up in fear. When they saw the corpse, they were stunned and felt like they had seen it somewhere before. Very quickly, the two of them reacted. Wasn't that an alliance general? How did this happen? They raised their heads and looked into the sky and noticed that someone was floating there. At that moment, the alarm of the entire U City rang. Lin Fan was noticed. Chapter 477. U City shook. This was the first time the alarm sounded since they occupied U City. Numerous experts rose into the air to search for the invader. Lin Fan landed on the ground where he used to live. He felt a sense of familiarity, like he had returned to the past. You have a good, I didn't know how to treat my old home as your main camp. Lin Fan ignored the two alliance members who were guarding the door and walked in leisurely. One of the alliance members was covered in sweat. He struggled in his heart and then hollered, "Stop right there." Pung. Lin Fan didn't even look and slapped him. He turned into a cannonball and flew into the distance. The other alliance member was stunned. If Lin Fan asked him if he dared to move, he would definitely shake his head and not dare to move. He really didn't dare to move. He returned to his old home. Even if he closed his eyes, he would be able to feel everything clearly. He walked towards the back courtyard. Many alliance members appeared on the way. Lin Fan's appearance shocked them, and they were filled with disbelief. They then charged towards Lin Fan, but to Lin Fan, these people were just too weak. Pala Pala. He dealt with them really easily. On the streets, U City 9-star General learned that someone was invading and started a search. The member who was slapped away by Lin Fan laid on the ground, and no one knew if he was dead or alive. When the general saw this, he looked towards the main camp. He waved his hands and brought people over. General Juha cultivated the blade path and was at Dao Realm Stage 5. He was one of the top experts in the Alliance headquarters. Of course, he wasn't the only 9-star general in U City. There were many other strong 9-star generals. To them, someone invading U City was a huge matter and couldn't be dealt with so casually. Lin Manor. Lin Fan returned to his room and moved a chair over. If Go Z was by his side, he might have asked him to bring some fruits over so that he could enjoy life. I have to snatch this place back. He looked at the sky. It wasn't so blue anymore and was a little gray. As expected, the sky depended on who lived in it. I'm right here. Since you're already here, come out. Stop hiding. There was movement around. He was surrounded by Alliance experts. An old man slowly walked out from the darkness. Shua. Following that, figures appeared all around Lin Fan, sealing off all his escape routes. Even a fly would find it hard to escape. I was wondering who dared to come here. So it's young Master Lin. Isn't it good to hide outside? Why must you come here to die? Marshal Juha recognized the person lying there. The 9-star generals all knew about the Alliance headquarters bounty. The cause of the war between Evil Alliance and Celestial Alliance was definitely related to him. Lin Fan smiled and pointed, "Not bad, I didn't expect you to recognize me right away. Since you have such good eyes, I will let you live and let you live." Marshal Juha didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed. "Interesting, this is really interesting. Look around you. Do you think you can leave this place safely?" Lin Fan's expression was calm, but his eyes were filled with confusion. "Are you saying that you can stop me by relying on numbers?" "Actually, I don't think you should be so confident. Confidence often brings disaster." Then, Lin Fan got up and sighed. "I have left this place for several months, and I miss it. So, when I passed by Evil Alliance, I wanted to come back to take a look. Where are Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoshin? They were lucky to escape last time, but I don't think their luck will continue to be good. Am I right?" "What did you say?" Juha didn't understand what he meant, but it wasn't important anymore. He nodded toward the 9-star general and told him to take Lin Fan down. The 9-star general standing at the east corner disappeared like a ghost and appeared beside Lin Fan in the blink of an eye. His fingers landed on Lin Fan's shoulder. "Kid, if you don't want to die, then don't move." He didn't think that Lin Fan could escape from his hands. General Juha said, "Young Master Lin, please stay here for a period of time. I think you will be able to see your partners soon." Zhu Daoshin and the others chased the border natives. Under normal circumstances, naturally, there wouldn't be any problems. The Alliance headquarters paid a huge price to deal with these natives. After all, to the Alliance headquarters, these people were like sharp blades hanging on their necks. If it didn't wipe them out, they would always feel like there was danger in the dark. What do you mean? Are you saying that the Alliance is doing something again? Lin Fan asked. He didn't know much about the Alliance, and it was just the overall situation. Imperial Dynasty, just the 4 alliances. General Jua smiled. There's no need to ask. Young Master Lin will find out soon. We are really curious about where Lin Wani is. Maybe young Master Lin can help us. I'm also searching for my father. If the Alliance knows where he is, then you can tell me. But I didn't come here to chat with you. I am prepared to deal a heavy blow to your Alliance. Lin Fan smiled calmly, and then his gaze turned solemn and unhappy. But with your current strength, you won't be able to stop me. General Juha was amused by Lin Fan's words. Right as he wanted to say something, his pupils constricted and his heart shook. What happened in front of him was really unexpected. The 9-star general who placed his palm on Lin Fan's shoulder didn't know what happened. His head felt like it was pressed down by someone and smacked into the ground. There was a loud explosion. The ground shook. Lin Fan prepared combo. After his palm landed on the ground, he stepped down. He was really quick. It was so smooth that one didn't even have time to blink. What? Marshal Juha was greatly alarmed. All of these changes happened too quickly. It was so fast that people couldn't react in time. Lin Fan brushed off the dust on his hands and said in disdain, just a Dao Realm stage, 2 9-star general. In the past, you were someone, but now you don't even have the right to lick my shoes. Just as Lin Fan said this, a cold light struck from the sky. Marshal Juha drew his blade, becoming one with it as he slashed through the air. Lin Fan stood on the spot, his fingers forming a sword, and he stabbed forwards. Clang! The space shook and sparks flew. The sound of explosions spread out. General Juha's blade technique was really high, and naturally, many of his techniques were at return to true realm. But if one really wanted to compare who had cultivated more secret manuals to returning to true realm, there really weren't many people who could beat Lin Fan. General Juha didn't dare to believe what was happening in front of him. He slashed out hundreds of blades, and each blade was really terrifying. But Lin Fan didn't use a weapon and used his fingers to block. That was something that General Juha couldn't accept. Kanglin. General Juha hollered in rage. Dao patterns roared out, and the power of heaven and earth surged down. Blade intent exploded, and a cold and majestic intent rose up. Kanglin intent was cold, and the waves were like waves. It was really sharp and cold. The waves were endless. The power was huge, and the killing intent was really sharp. Slash. The light was really eye-catching, and the sky was ripped apart by this blade intent. The entire area seemed like it had been sliced into two. The current Marshal Ju, he was like a saber sovereign. How could others compare to him? How long? The blade light landed and gave off an unlimited amount of light. The light was really sharp, and even the space around was sliced open. The surrounding 9-star generals were shocked by General Juha's strength. At the same time, they were confident that Lin Fan wouldn't be able to survive in his hands. Slowly, even if the light dissipated, the surrounding space was still covered in a cold blade intent. General Juha sucked in a deep breath, and his arms trembled. That move just now was his strongest saber Dao. If not for Lin Fan being so skilled, he probably wouldn't have been so serious. Suddenly, a voice that General Juha didn't want to believe spread into his ears. A decent blade. It even made me take a step back. Lin Fan said. Looking closely, one could really see that Lin Fan had taken a step back. Apart from his clothes being a little dusty, there was nothing else. You. General Juha was shocked. Cold sweat flowed down his forehead, and he exclaimed in his heart. What kind of monster was this? The latest news that the Alliance got was that Lin Fan was only at Dao Realm Stage 3. Although Stage 3 was not bad, there was still a gap between him and him. I said that I would let you live, so I will. Lin Fan took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of Marshal Juha. He pointed out with a finger, and Dao patterns exploded forth. To Marshal Juha, he only felt an irresistible force rushing towards him. His power spread to his limbs and bones. There was a loud explosion, and his body trembled. Lin Fan retracted his hand. General Juha's eyes lost the light, and he slowly became listless. His body went soft, and he fell to the ground. He was a man of his word. He said that he would give him a chance, so he definitely wouldn't take his life. Uproar. The surrounding 9-star generals panicked. The difference in strength was obvious, and even General Juha was suppressed. With their strength, how could they be his match? Where's the expert? Lin Fan looked at them. Yu City is such an important place, so don't tell me that he is the strongest. Everyone was really nervous and didn't know what to say. General Juha wasn't the strongest in Yu City, but the strongest 9-star general went to wipe out the natives and wasn't here at all. At that moment, some Alliance dogs panicked and sneakily went to inform the Alliance headquarters. Something huge had happened. Yu City was invaded by natives, and General Juha was suppressed right away. The other 9-star generals didn't dare to fight back. Alliance headquarters. DDD. The staff frowned. Damn, what was going on? Why was it beeping so much? But when they saw the content, the Alliance members couldn't keep calm anymore. Not good. Native experts have invaded Yu City. General Juha has been defeated, and the other 9-star generals have surrendered. The members who saw the news exclaimed. When everyone heard this, they all blinked their eyes in a daze. What was he saying? To them, this was a little too much. It was a lie, right? Yu City was invaded by natives, and General Juha was defeated. Just thinking about it made them feel that it was impossible. Chapter 478. If the 9-star generals surrounding Lin Fan found out that someone didn't even know the truth and said that they had surrendered, they would probably explode on the spot. That was just too much. The Alliance headquarters found out about Lin Fan's appearance in Yu City. This was something that the Alliance headquarters didn't expect at all. Most of the 9-star generals had missions, so how could they find people to head to Yu City? General Juha was at Dao Realm Stage 5, and even he wasn't his match. Even if they sent more 9-star generals, it would be useless unless they sent Dao Realm Stage 6 9-star generals. But the current situation meant that there weren't many Dao Realm Stage 6 9-star generals who were free. Why? Don't you have anything else to say to me? Lin Fan looked at them. These 9-star generals were all experts from the Alliance headquarters. But now that they were facing an expert that they couldn't fight back against, the helplessness that seeped out covered their hearts. Lin Fan, this is Alliance territory. What do you want? An Alliance 9-star general thought about it for a long while, and his expression slowly calmed down. With their strength, they weren't able to do anything to Lin Fan. The Alliance headquarters definitely knew about the situation here and would send experts over. As long as they delayed until then, everything would be perfectly solved. Lin Fan smiled. I don't want to do anything. No matter what, this was my home. All right, I want to ask you something. After you occupied Yu City, where did you bury the people? For some reason, they suddenly realized that when Lin Fan asked that question, he was indeed smiling. But for some reason, there was a dark and solemn aura that covered all of them. This, the 9-star generals didn't reply. They felt that something wasn't right. There was a ball of rage hidden deep in his heart. I am asking all of you a question. Are you not even going to reply? Lin Fan glanced at one of the 9-star generals. You, tell me, where did you bury them? The expression of the 9-star general that Lin Fan pointed at changed. Fear spread throughout his body. No, he was an Alliance 9-star general, so how could he be afraid because of his gaze? Embarrassing. That was just too embarrassing. They were buried in a hole outside the city. Pong, you. The 9-star general who replied to Lin Fan lowered his head in disbelief. An arm pierced through and fresh blood flowed out. He felt like his body was empty and his heart was in Lin Fan's hands. You are really unlucky. Pucci. Lin Fan crushed his heart, and the Alliance 9-star general died. Such cruel methods shocked everyone. How could you kill him? Some 9-star generals couldn't help but say. They were too quick, and in the blink of an eye, a 9-star general died in front of them. To them, This was a precious talent of the Alliance. To nurture a marshal, not only did it require a huge amount of resources, but it also required a very long time. Just a moment ago, he had destroyed a genius who had worked hard for decades. Lin Fan smiled. Interesting. After the Alliance occupied your city, you killed all of us. Now that I am back, naturally, I am here to take revenge. He is the first, but definitely not the last. Are you all prepared? As soon as he finished speaking, the marshals panicked. Run, run quickly. Don't make unnecessary sacrifices. None of them were fools. They knew that the gap between them and the other party was truly an insurmountable chasm. Marshal Juha was so powerful, but even he was not a match for the other party, let alone them. Therefore, to them, escaping was the only option. Darkness God Domain. Lin Fan stood on the spot and smiled. He activated the Chief God Domain. Instantly, the gray veil expanded with Lin Fan at the center and covered the entire U City. What happened? The Alliance members in U City raised their heads. Just now, they felt their hearts tighten like they were being squeezed by something. Just as they were filled with doubts, a shadow shot over like a cannonball and smashed into the ground with a loud rumble. They didn't know what it was, but when they looked closely, they realized that it was the 9-star general. The 9-star general was in a bad state. His skin cracked and fresh blood covered his body. He looked at the Alliance members around and said weakly, "Quick, inform the headquarters." He said those words with much difficulty. Then his neck tilted and he lost all feeling. Did the general faint? Someone asked. No, he is dead. The person who said that stared at the 9-star general's chest. There was a bloody hole there, and one could see the white bones within. It was just too tough to survive from such injuries. Quick, listen to the general and ask for help from the headquarters. At this moment, Lin Fan was prepared to start massacre. He thought about those people who were sacrificed when he came to U City. That battle was fresh in his mind. In the end, only a few people survived. All the experts went all out against the Alliance. A 9-star general panicked and fled. He didn't expect Lin Fan to be so crazy to come to U City alone and start massacre. They didn't have the ability to block him at all. Suddenly, his body shook and a voice that terrified him spread into his ears. Where do you want to run to? The 9-star general turned his head uneasily. Lin Fan, I am an Alliance 9-star general. You are asking to die by killing people in U City. Although he was a 9-star general and his cultivation had reached Dao realm, when he faced Lin Fan, he actually panicked. Lin Fan reached out and grabbed the back of his head. He used strength and pressed him to the ground. With a loud explosion, the ground cracked and a giant hole appeared. Lin Fan, I have no grievances with you. So why are you doing this, Poochie? Lin Fan's sword slashed down and pierced his head. His methods were really vicious, and he didn't give him any chance at all. A Dao Realm expert died, just like that. It was really a waste. Today, I will kill so much that the Alliance will cry for their parents. Given Lin Fan's current cultivation state, what he was doing was equivalent to bullying the weak. In his hands, there was no way that these Dao Realm powerful beings could hold out at all. He dealt with 2 9-star generals consecutively, causing the Alliance headquarters to suffer huge losses. But this was just the beginning. He wanted to give the Alliance headquarters a huge gift, which was to kill all the 9-star generals in U City. That was a crazy thought, but it wasn't difficult at all. He knew that the Alliance headquarters would definitely send people over, and during this period of time, he had to kill all the 9-star generals who were fleeing. In the distance, a 9-star general was fleeing. How could this be? How could this lad be this strong? This is something that should be impossible. Pung. He teleported through the dimension and wanted to flee, but suddenly, he felt like he had smashed into an iron board. An invisible iron board. There was no one blocking him at all. What was going on? Impossible. Even a domain can't stop me from teleporting through the dimension. What's going on? The 9-star general hollered and wanted to destroy the obstruction in front of him. But no matter how hard he tried, the obstruction was still there. This is the Chief God Domain. With your cultivation, naturally, you won't be able to break it. Lin Fan appeared behind him like a ghost. The nine-star general's pupils constricted, and his expression turned into one of panic. Lin Fan, let's talk about this. I think we should have something to talk about. What a waste. What welcomed him wasn't anything to talk about, but an iron fist. In other words, it was a fist the size of a sandbag. Pum! The fist smashed into the general's face, and his features twisted. He opened his mouth, and blood spurted out. His body spun like a top and smashed into the ground. You are so weak that I have nothing to say. You're just Dao Realm Stage 2. Lin Fan waved his hand and flung the blood off. Explosions spread out from within Yu City. The Alliance members in Yu City had uneasy expressions on their faces. They could see dust rising up from all corners of the city, and there were buildings that were broken. The ripples from the battle spread out and covered everyone. To them, this was already quite friendly. The gap in strength between Lin Fan and these nine-star generals was just too huge, so there wouldn't be any intense clashes. This was why the ripples that spread out weren't like waves that struck one after another. Instead, they were short-lived and occasionally swept everything. Hata! Lin Fan stepped on a nine-star general with one foot. To a nine-star general, this was a humiliation. He didn't beg and just stared at Lin Fan in rage. Fresh blood seeped out of his mouth. Kiki, native, don't think that I will beg for mercy. Alliance nine-star generals aren't afraid of death. Now, there's probably a massacre happening somewhere. Those people that you have high hopes for are being tortured by our nine-star generals, ha! The nine-star general laughed in a maniacal manner, and his expression was one of madness. Lin Fan frowned. What do you mean by that? Scoff, how can I tell you? I just want you to know that things aren't what you think they are. Cry for their deaths. The nine-star general raged and was prepared to die. He definitely wouldn't tell him the exact location. He just wanted him to know that such a thing was happening. Pucci. Lin Fan used strength in his feet, and Dao patterns exploded, instantly smashing the nine-star general's head. He then raised his head and looked at the endless space. He knew that the border defense experts were hiding in Alliance territory and would occasionally cause problems for the Alliance. His words clearly told him that what was happening now had a lot to do with him. Not good. Lin Fan thought about one possibility, which was that the Alliance headquarters had found out where they were hiding. Since he stepped into the Alliance's territory, the Alliance tried to trick him into coming out. Based on the Alliance's characteristics, this might have happened. Lin Fan didn't worry about anything else. He rose into the air and looked around. He didn't sense any fluctuations in the air. At that moment, he disappeared from his spot and headed into the distance. Chapter 479. Lin Fan didn't destroy Yu City. This was his old home, and it was temporarily controlled by the Alliance headquarters. But one day they would snatch Yu City back, so if it was destroyed too badly, then it would be a huge loss. Within a certain room in Yu City, a fat researcher had a terrified expression on his face as he typed on the keyboard with both hands. He reported what happened in Yu City back to the Alliance network. He used really exaggerated words to describe what had happened. The native expert trampled the Alliance expert, and at the same time, he recorded many videos which exploded in the Alliance. From the start, the occupation of the Alliance headquarters gave many people hope. They felt that the natives were just SOSO and weren't their match at all. But the content taught them a huge lesson. When the Alliance headquarters came back to their senses and wanted to ban the content, they realized that it was too late. Yu City was an important place. Now that it was suppressed by the natives, that was something that the Alliance headquarters couldn't accept. This was why when they found out, they sent 9-star generals over. Moreover, it was a special assignment. When a Dao Realm Stage 7 9-star general came to Yu City, his expression was really solemn. The situation around wasn't good. Although there weren't any heavy damages, he saw the corpses of no less than 4 9-star generals. Juho was suppressed by Lin Fan and fainted. When he woke up and saw the situation around, he was totally stunned. He then searched for Lin Fan, but he couldn't find him at all. Juho, what is going on? Just as Juho was stunned, he heard this voice and came back to his senses. When he saw who it was, he heaved a sigh of relief. Is Lin Wani here? The person who came was one of the strongest 9-star generals in the Alliance headquarters, Yellow Springs. He wasn't in rich land, but at the border of the Alliance. He visited Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island, but he had no choice. The Alliance headquarters said that U City was under attack and needed the strongest 9-star generals, so he could only rush over right away. Jua said, "No, it is Lin Fan, Lin Wani's son." "How is that possible?" Yellow Springs frowned. "How can Lin Wani's son have such cultivation? You are at Dao Realm Stage 5, so how can you not be his match?" At this moment, even if Marshal Juha didn't want to admit it, there was nothing he could do. This was the truth. He lowered his head and said helplessly, "General Huang Quan, this old man is indeed not his match. There's a huge gap between us." Marshal Huang Quan stared blankly, clearly stunned by Marshal Juha's words. He didn't see it with his own eyes, so it was hard for him to imagine what had happened. But if Lin Wani was able to suppress them, that was something that was inevitable. But now his son was actually able to suppress them? This was simply unimaginable. That could only mean that the Alliance headquarters analysis was wrong. Lin Fan wasn't as strong as they said. He was much stronger and much more terrifying. Bastard. Yellow Springs Marshal released his senses to search for traces of Lin Fan. However, Lin Fan had long left this place, and there was no trace of him at all. Where did he go? Where? Lin Fan sensed the void in the distance. However, he could not sense any ripples at all. It was as though nothing had happened at all. As long as there was the slightest shock wave from a battle, he would be able to detect it. Although he didn't know who was hiding in the Alliance territory, it was definitely one of them. Then, in the sky above the Alliance territory, a person sped through the dimension and searched for the shaking void. As long as he attacked, he would be able to sense it and find some clues. A certain place. "We can't leave, we have been surrounded." The person who spoke was Zhao Lishan. Since he gave up Laozhan City, he didn't leave the Alliance territory. He hid and searched for a chance to deal heavy damage to the Alliance. They succeeded several times, and the Alliance treated them as enemies. As long as they knew where they were, the Alliance would definitely wipe them out right away. Old Shin frowned. "How did the Alliance know where we were hiding? Did someone betray us?" Zhao Lishan said, "No, don't suspect the people around you. We are all brothers who fought against the Alliance, so how can we suspect one another? We were just too careless, and the Alliance found out where we were." Old Shun kept silent. He knew what Master Zhao meant, which was to not suspect anyone. But he had to suspect others, as it was tough for them to find out where they were hiding. Moreover, there were people who were good at hiding. Each time they moved, they would be really careful and definitely wouldn't leave any traces. But he had no choice. Since Master Zhao had already said that, then what else could he say? Old Master Wang sat there and smoked. "Now us old fellows will charge out. You young fellows should find a chance to run." Hu Luo, whose face was covered in pimples, shook his head. "Old Master Wang, we aren't prepared to run. At most, we will continue to fight them." Zhao Lishan looked at Swordhead, who was sitting cross-legged and comprehending the sword. "Swordhead, how confident are we in killing our way out?" Swordhead opened his eyes, and a sharp sword intent shook within. He then shook his head. "The chance is slim. The Alliance sent many experts, and even I am not their match. But if we fight to the death, we might have a chance of living." The fact that Swordmaster was with Zhao Lishan was also a coincidence. Since the Alliance occupied Defense City, Swordhead returned to Sword Palace to give some instructions before returning to fight to the death with the Alliance. However, when he returned, Daoist's 3 lunatics and the others were no longer around. He did not know where they went. Later on, he met Zhao Lishan and the others and stayed with them. Instantly, a furious roar spread out from the outside world. "Natives, come out. Stop hiding. We have already noticed your tracks, so how long are you going to hide for?" The voice was like thunder. Zhao Lishan and the others had solemn expressions on their faces. Even if they didn't fight, just from the voice, they knew who it was. Moreover, they weren't weak, and even it might not be able to do anything to him. Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoshan, the 2 strongest 9-star generals, were here. They weren't lucky a while ago. They weren't able to complete the missions that the Alliance gave them, and they faced a rare reputation crisis. Now, they needed to complete some things to regain their reputation. Thus, they were in charge of wiping out the natives. Logically speaking, they just needed to send one of the strongest 9-star generals to deal with these people. But they had no choice. Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga needed to do something to prove themselves. After all, those stupid Alliance citizens had been slandering them. What strongest 9-star generals? They were old. It was useless. They couldn't do anything. Just thinking about it made them furious. How could they swallow this insult? Wu Zhiga, don't fight with me later, Zhu Daoshan said. Wu Zhiga giggled. Why would I fight with you? Let's see how strong we are. Without Lin Wani leading them, they are just scattered sand. So what if they hide? As long as they are noticed, they will die. As the two strongest marshals chatted, the marshals and generals behind them didn't dare to speak. Zhu Daoshan turned his head and pointed at the people who followed. All of you are not allowed to attack. Do you hear me? Strength was just overbearing. The moment he said this, the people behind didn't dare to say anything. They only had one thought in their hearts. The two of them were the strongest 9-star generals, so naturally they would listen to them. They would do whatever they said and wouldn't resist at all. Just at that moment, a sword intent surged up from below, charging into the clouds and slicing open the sky. Decent sword intent, it can compare to the top sword expert in the Alliance. Zhu Daoshan wasn't stingy with his praises. At the same time, he felt much happier. He didn't expect that he would be able to catch a big fish. Maybe only Swordhead could be considered a big fish by Zhu Daoshan. Shortly after, another burst of aura erupted. Zhao Lishan and Swordhead stepped out and floated in the air. Alliance, you are really skilled to actually find us. Wu Zhiga smiled. Not bad, I didn't expect there to be two big fishes. As for those people, they're just small fries. Not bad, not bad. Everyone present, only Zhao Lishan and Swordhead were treated seriously by the Alliance's strongest 9-star generals. The others were just SOSO and weren't worth mentioning at all. General Zhu, do you really not need us to attack? The 9-star general who followed asked. Zhu Daoshan waved his hands. No need, just watch. You don't need to worry about anything else. The 9-star generals dissed in their hearts. It was really unbearable. If they didn't need to do anything, then why did they come here? Were they here to watch a show? Swordhead's expression was solemn as he looked at the two strongest 9-star generals. If they didn't meet, although he wasn't confident, he still had some hope. But now that he saw them in person, he knew that he had no confidence at all. Not to mention the two of them. Even one of them was hopeless. But to cultivate the sword, one had to be courageous. Even if one knew that they couldn't win, one wouldn't retreat. At that moment, the sword intent on Swordhead's body surged and became even more terrifying. His mental energy reached its peak. With a shield, a sword spun around his body. He took in a deep breath, and the millions of sword from Sword Palace swept over from afar, forming a sword path river in the air. Although I will die today, I won't regret it. What a waste. I will end Sword Palace's foundations. Swordhead's eyes shone with a sharp glow, and he was prepared to fight. Zhao Lishan smiled. Everyone has their own talents. Sword Palace's sword path is the path of the predecessors, and you are walking your own path. Do you think that no one in the future can surpass you? The Swordhead revealed a smile. Brother Zhao is right. I have underestimated the later generations. Okay, since that is the case, then I will give up on life and activate the massacring sword path to contribute to the future. The moment he said this, a shocking aura exploded from Swordhead's body. Slaughter seethed, and the heavens and the earth were suffused with a horrifying might. Chapter 480. Pung, pung. Two loud explosions rang out. Swordhead and Zhao Lishan couldn't fight back at all in Wu Zhiga's hands. They were smashed deep into the ground like cannonballs, causing thick dust to rise up. What kind of trash are you? You can't even hold on for such a short time in my hands? Wu Zhiga stood with his arms behind his back. His expression was cold, and the aura of an expert spread out from his body. We agreed to take one each, but now you're taking 2 each. Isn't that a little too much? Zhu Daoshan was unhappy with Wu Zhige taking 2 each. He also wanted to show off. To prove himself, he had waited for this day for a long time. But looking at what Wu Zhige did, was that even something a human could do? Wu Zhige said, how? Even when the 2 of them work together, they aren't my match. If you let them face 1 each, what will happen to them? Zhu Daoshan had nothing to say, and he didn't know what to say. Wu Zhige's words made sense. Even when the 2 of them worked together, they weren't their match, much less one-on-one. Wasn't that just bullying them? How long? The ground shook. A sharp sword intent broke through the sky. Sword Head looked into the sky with a solemn expression. He and Zhao Lishan worked together and were shocked by their terrifying strength. But even if they weren't their match, they wouldn't retreat. Sword Head, even when we work together, we aren't able to gain an advantage. It seems like this will be our last battle. Zhao Lishan said. Sword Head stretched out his arm and opened his fingers. He drew a circle in the air, and the millions of swords behind him spun up like a sword dragon. Brother Zhao, we will try our best. The moment he said this, Sword Head roared and pressed down with his 5 fingers. The sword dragon roared, and one could vaguely see a real dragon within this sword dragon. Decent sword technique, but unfortunately, you chose the wrong opponent. Wu Zhige said calmly. He loved the current feeling. This was the treatment that one of the strongest 9-star generals in the Alliance deserved. He looked at the shocked and worshipful gazes that were all gathered on him. Needless to say, that feeling made him feel really good. A sharp and murderous sword intent attacked. Wu Zhige slowly stretched out his hand. In the eyes of others, Wu Zhige's palm was expanding endlessly. Then, with a loud bang, it clashed with the sword dragon. Heaven and earth shook, and the sky became extremely unstable. As expected of the strongest 9-star general, the marshals who followed were very envious. They also wanted to be as strong as Wu Zhige. Just thinking about it was enough. How could it be so easy to achieve? Swordmaster, your moves aren't bad. You're using the foundation of Sword Palace to fight with me. It's not bad that you can do this with your strength. But if that's all, it's far from enough. Wu Zhige's lips curled into a smile as he clenched his fist. With a loud rumble, the space around him shattered as the sword dragon was destroyed. A powerful backlash swept over. Pucci, the sword master, was heavily injured and his body swayed. He couldn't help but cough out a mouthful of blood as he stared at Wu Zhige in shock. He hadn't expected the difference in strength between them to be so great. How was that possible? Swordmaster didn't expect things to turn out like this. Were the Alliance's strongest 9-star generals so strong? How is it? Wu Zhige smiled and asked. Out of the natives, only Lin Wani could make him feel pressure. As for the others, he really didn't care about them at all. Suddenly, Zhao Lishan realized that Swordmaster's aura was a little different. His expression changed, and he wanted to say something, but Swordmaster stopped him. Swordmaster shook his head. He stepped forwards, and his sword intent boiled. A shocking aura exploded from Swordmaster's body. Wu Zhige frowned and found it weird. Are you going to make a useless struggle? Swordmaster's body shook. A red aura covered his body, and an extreme killing aura covered the area. I cultivate the sword, and I cultivate the breath in my heart. Today, I will use my strongest sword to fight the strongest 9-star generals. The moment he said this, Swordmaster raised his head and looked at him. A sword intent that shouldn't exist in the world broke through the clouds. The sword intent was like a rainbow that stirred up the entire area. Wong. The area shook and a shocking phenomenon occurred. Suddenly, some of the Alliance 9-star generals exclaimed. They discovered something strange. The weapons in some people's hands were trembling, and a visible aura floated out from the weapons and flew towards the Swordmaster's head. Not only did the surrounding situation change, many visible auras swept over from a distance. Initially, Wu Zhige didn't care about this scene at all, but gradually, his expression turned solemn. He could feel a sense of danger from this pressure. This made him a little shocked. He really didn't expect this to happen. Zhu Daoshan smiled and asked, How is it? Do you need help? His aura is really strong, and it is obvious that he has a killing move. Don't die. Wu Zhiga smiled instead of being angry. I'm looking forward to it. I hope that you don't disappoint me. Zhao Lishan's expression was solemn. He knew that Swordmaster was using his strongest move. As for what the outcome would be, even he didn't know. But he was sure that everything would become terrifying. Brother Zhao, I will lead the way. The moment he said this, Swordmaster disappeared from the spot, and the area shook. Vast sword intent stirred the area, but there was no sign of Swordmaster. It was like he had totally disappeared. At that moment, Wu Zhiga felt like the space around him had been locked down. Even time seemed to have been locked down. Danger. He didn't expect that Swordmaster could actually make him feel danger. To others, Swordmaster seemed to have disappeared, but to Wu Zhiga, Swordmaster didn't disappear and was just around. Pucci. At that moment, a wound appeared on Wu Zhiga's arm, and fresh blood flowed out. No one knew what was going on. He didn't even see who attacked, and his arm was sliced open for no reason. Brother Wu, when Zhu Daoshan saw Wu Zhiga's situation, he couldn't help but worry. But Wu Zhiga stood there without moving at all. His expression didn't change at all. Pucci. Wu Zhiga's neck tilted slightly, and a wound appeared on it. He was terrified. The marshals at the back looked at the scene in shock. They didn't know what had happened, and just noticed that wounds had appeared on Wu Zhiga's body. Such a weird situation was the most terrifying. Wu Zhiga's expression was cold, and there was no emotion at all. He was serious and didn't underestimate him like before. Pucci. Suddenly, many wounds appeared on Wu Zhiga's body. They just appeared out of nowhere, and no one was able to react. Zhu Daoshan wanted to see the exact situation, but regretfully, even he didn't notice what the problem was. How did Lin Fan do it? Was it an invisible killing technique? What is going on? Do you need help? Zhu Daoshan asked. They were the strongest 9-star generals in the Alliance, and they couldn't let anything happen to them here. Wu Zhiga didn't reply. He seemed to have entered a weird state. It is indeed problematic. That old man was right. When one cultivates the sword and goes all out, one will be able to use unimaginable power. Your current performance is not bad, but everything about you is under my control. The moment he said this, Wu Zhiga opened his fingers and grabbed towards the air. With a smacking sound, he grabbed Swordmaster's neck and pressed him to the ground. There was a pong. The ground shook and cracked. At a speed that normal people couldn't see, he slapped Swordmaster several times. Long. Swordmaster's body flew backward, and he smashed into a giant stone in the distance. Blood flowed all over his body, and his eyes lost their usual glow. Everything was really dim. You really are a decent sword cultivator. Unfortunately, the gap between cultivation isn't something you can cross, but it is already not bad that you can injure me. Wu Zhiga praised Swordmaster. The injuries on his body contained terrifying sword intent that destroyed the life force in his body. If it was a normal person, naturally, they wouldn't be able to block it. But to Wu Zhiga, these were just minor injuries. Wu Zhiga looked at Swordmaster and had a high evaluation of him. Although he was trying to hit a rock with an egg and overestimating himself, his final move was really decent. However, the final move was indeed very good, giving him quite a headache. The formless attack was simply impossible to find a flaw. But regretfully, he was facing one of the strongest 9-star generals in the Alliance, and there was nothing he couldn't solve. Swordmaster, Zhao Lishan was shocked, and his eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He realized that Swordmaster's aura was really weak, and if he couldn't be healed, the outcome would be really terrifying. Swordmaster had already fainted. Maybe because the move he used was too terrifying and it took a huge toll on him. Many cracks appeared on his skin. Master Zhao, bring Swordmaster away. We will open up a path for you. Old Shin said. He knew that even if all of them worked together, they definitely wouldn't be his match. But no matter what, they had to buy time from Master Zhao. Even if they worked hard for their entire lives, they might not be able to catch up to him. But Master Zhao was different. Although his cultivation was weaker, as long as he had some time, one day he would be able to suppress him. Zhao Lishan shook his head and didn't say anything more. He knew that it was useless. The Alliance headquarters actually sent two of the strongest 9-star generals for them. That was something that he didn't expect. When he defended Maigu's city, he only faced 9-star General Mao Shintai. Mao Shintai was Dao Realm Stage 5. However, the two experts they were facing right now had already surpassed them by far too much. Fleeing was already an extravagant hope. Zhu Daoshan said, "Leave it to me. No matter what, you should let me perform." He was a little emotional. Although they were the strongest 9-star generals, they needed to prove themselves. They also needed to show everyone that they were old, but they weren't old. P.S. I recommend a book called Wild Producer written by a friend. Those who are interested can read it. He said that it was based on a true story. Scoff. Chapter 481. Wu Zhiga suppressed Swordhead and felt really happy. He had finally done something. This was why when Zhu Daoshan asked him to hand Zhao Lishan over to him, he agreed. Who asked them to have such a good relationship? It was good on the surface, but not on the surface. Okay, then I shall leave him to you, Wu Zhiga said and gave Zhu Daoshan a chance to shine. To send out two of the strongest 9-star generals to deal with these bastards was like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. As long as they were caught, they would definitely die. Ha, good. Zhu Daoshan felt really good and found Wu Zhiga much more pleasing to the eye. The two of them didn't have much interaction with one another. They were both the strongest 9-star generals and would occasionally have conflicts, so their relationship wasn't that good. Zhao Lishan, you'll face me next. But don't worry, I won't kill you so easily. Naturally, Zhu Daoshan was confident in suppressing Zhao Lishan. Dao Realm Stage 5 was strong, but compared to the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance, the gap was huge. Zhao Lishan looked at the fainted Swordhead and was really calm. He then looked at Zhu Daoshan. One day, all of you will be chased out. Today, I shall see how strong one of the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance is. Hanlong. A shocking fighting intent swept the area like a storm. The wind started to blow. Even if he knew that he wasn't his match, he had no intention of retreating at all. Zhu Daoshan looked at Zhao Lishan like he was looking at a toy in his hands. Old Shun, find a chance to bring people and run. Leave this place to me. Remember, don't come back after you escape. Go find Lin Wani. Zhao Lishan was prepared. He knew that he wasn't his match in a normal battle, so there was only one choice. Maybe he would have a chance of living. His choice was to self-destruct. The impact of a Dao Realm Stage 5 cultivator's self-destruction would be really terrifying. Master Zhao, Old Shun, and the others saw the determination in Zhao Lishan's eyes and knew that something huge was about to happen. Zhao Lishan raised his hand and told them not to say anything. Since they had made up their minds, then they wouldn't change anything. What are you all talking about? At such a time, it is best if you don't think so much. Today, all of you will die here. Remember, this is the outcome of going against the Alliance. Zhu Daoshan was prepared to use absolute strength to suppress him, not to mention how domineering it was. But he had to be more shocked than Wu Zhiga. Suddenly, something was wrong. Wu Zhiga, Zhu Daoshan, and the others frowned and locked onto Zhao Lishan. Very soon, they understood what had happened. Zhu Daoshan hollered in rage, "You are crazy." He did not expect the other party to self-destruct. The surrounding power became very chaotic and berserk. The power of heaven and earth began to boil. Everyone felt as though their hearts were being pressed down by a rock. Such a big gamble. Wu Zhiga took a few steps back. It wasn't that he was afraid of Zhao Lishan, but that the other party was a little too ruthless. If it was anyone else who self-destructed, he wouldn't be afraid at all. But he knew that Zhao Lishan wasn't weak and was at Dao Realm Stage 5. He was so close, and if he really self-destructed, the power that would explode wouldn't be so easy to handle. Haha, I am prepared. I will use my life to bring some people down, and we will learn a lot. Zhao Lishan laughed maniacally. Zhu Daoshan only had one thought in his heart. Crazy. These natives were all crazy. When the Alliance headquarters attacked the border, those natives were really crazy. They self-destructed to die together with them, causing heavy losses to the Alliance headquarters. He wanted to slice open their heads and see whether or not they were filled with mush. They were just sick in the head. Who were they trying to scare by doing such a thing? But please don't say it. He didn't know whether or not other people were frightened, but Zhu Daoshan was. Retreat. Zhu Daoshan and the others waved their hands and retreated into the distance. They maintained a certain distance, not too far and not too close to ensure that Zhao Lishan couldn't escape. This is problematic. If I knew that this would happen, I would have been more decisive and not given him a chance. Zhu Daoshan said. Wu Zhiga said, "This is all because of you. If you were like me and suppressed him right away, then all of this wouldn't have happened." Old Shen obviously wouldn't allow Zhao Lishan to self-destruct. He persuaded, "Master Zhao Run, we will self-destruct to stop them." Old Master Wang shook the tobacco in his hands and said firmly, "Since my son was killed by the Alliance, I just want to fight them to the death. Now that the chance is here, let me do it. Master Zhao, bring them away. Leave this place to me. It is useless. Your self-destruction won't be able to stop them. Only I can threaten them. Bring Sword Head away." Zhao Lishan said. He knew that no one here was afraid of death. But with two of the strongest 9-star generals here, if one's cultivation wasn't high enough, even if they self-destructed, it would be useless. This was why he had to be the one to do it. "Go!" Zhao Lishan hollered. His eyes were bloodshot and the explosive power in his body was getting more and more uncontrollable. The moment he self-destructed, not only would it cause problems for the enemy, but it would also cause problems for his own people. But all of that wasn't important anymore. As long as most of them survived, that was enough. Just at that moment, an astonishing power was transmitted from the void. Everyone was stunned by this power, and they had no idea what was going on. Sword Seed, explode. A familiar voice spread into their ears. Shortly after, the sky shook. A sharp power ripped through the sky and covered all the Alliance dogs. Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga were stunned. They were unable to react at all and didn't know what was going on. There were screams. Those Alliance dogs that followed were slightly weaker. Under the power of the self-destruction of the Sword Seed, they weren't able to block it at all. Their bodies were ripped apart by a terrifying power. Those below Dao Realm were ripped into pieces. Those with Dao Realm cultivation were all coughing out blood. Those who were slightly unlucky were on the verge of death or had broken limbs. It was a tragic sight to behold. Who is it? Who is it? Zhu Daoshan and the others' eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Their eyes were spitting flames. With them here, such a thing actually happened. Who would believe that? "It is me." Lin Fan calmly walked out. In the end, he still rushed over. To search for those people at the border, he sped through the dimension and finally felt the space tremble. He rushed over right away. Looking at the situation, it seemed like he was a little late, but not too late. Zhu Daoshan looked at the person and his expression changed. He exclaimed, "It is you." He recognized who it was. Even if he turned to dust, he wouldn't be wrong. Lin Wani's son, Lin Fan. So it was this kid, Brother Lin. When Hu Luo saw the person, joy appeared on his face. He was really pumped up as he waved his hands and shouted. He hadn't seen Brother Lin in a long time and didn't expect that he would be able to meet him here. "Well, Little Sword God is here. So Little Sword God saved us." The people in Laozan City recognized Lin Fan, and they called him Little Sword God. Lin Fan acted like he was calm, but his heart wasn't calm at all. This title sounded a little weird. "Long time no see. I hope that I'm not too late." Lin Fan giggled. Although the situation wasn't good, he wasn't afraid at all. The two strongest 9-star generals were a little problematic, but he still had a way. Old Shen laughed. "Little Sword God is not late at all." Right. Lin Fan was just too young, and logically speaking, he shouldn't be able to help much. But for some reason, they trusted Lin Fan and felt like he would definitely be able to save them. "Young Master Lin, why are you here?" Zhao Lishan was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Fan to appear here. He was prepared to die together with the Alliance. Lin Fan said, "I made a trip to Yu City and wiped out some 9-star generals. I heard about all of you, so I came to find you." Zhao Lishan hadn't seen Lin Fan in a long time. Now that he looked, he realized that young Master Lin was much stronger than before. This was just unbelievable to him. At the same time, it proved his thoughts. Young Master Lin's talent was unparalleled. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to reach such a level in such a short time. Not far away, Zhu Daoshen and Wu Zhiga looked at one another. The people who followed them over were just too tragic. Half of them were dead. The sword seed explosion was something that they couldn't block at all. Even those who survived were badly injured. It was a huge contrast from before. Zhu Daoshen could imagine what he would face when he returned. He failed. Another King failure. In fact, he even began to doubt himself. Could it be that he was really old? He couldn't do anything. No, he definitely couldn't let this happen. Lin Fan, you're asking to die. Zhu Daoshen hollered. Rage burned, and he really wanted to rip Lin Fan into pieces. Lin Fan laughed. I was wondering who it was. So it was the two of you. Wu Zhiga, Zhu Daoshen, you are both the strongest 9-star generals, and you are so old. Why not just retire at home? Why did you have to come out and cause trouble? Are you really so stubborn? He had to admit that with his current strength, he really couldn't do much to these two old fellows. If they really fought, he would be beaten up badly. He wouldn't come out to ask for trouble when he faced these people, but he had no choice. He couldn't watch as Zhao Lishan and the others died in front of him. This was why he had to think of a way to save them. Just now, Zhao Lishan wanted to self-destruct, to sacrifice himself so that the others could leave safely. That was a good idea, but if he self-destructed, then he would die without a whole corpse. Lin Fan's words struck a chord in Zhu Daoshen's heart, and his gaze was vicious. Kid, you're asking to die. Chapter 482. Stop, please wait for a moment. Lin Fan raised his hand, and the furious Zhu Daoshen was stunned. What was this kid doing? He couldn't take this kid's attitude. Maybe Lin Fan's calm expression scared Zhu Daoshen. Lin Fan walked in front of Swordhead. He needs to be healed, otherwise the outcome will be catastrophic. He had never seen Swordhead before, and they were strangers. But the aura left in Swordhead's body seemed really terrifying to Lin Fan. Thus, Lin Fan was certain that he was an expert, a top expert on the same level as Zhao Lishan. Zhao Lishan said, Young Master Lin, he is Sword Palace's Swordhead. Sword Palace's Swordhead? Lin Fan walked in front of Swordhead and placed his palm on his stomach. Large amounts of faith power turned into Chief God light and surged into his body. The Darkness Chief God's technique was really amazing, but it consumed large amounts of faith power. God Revival Technique. This was the strongest recovery technique that Lin Fan could use. As he didn't consume any faith power, the God domain in his body had accumulated a large amount of faith power. But at this moment, a large amount was being lost. Maybe this had a lot to do with how strong he was. What is he doing? Zhu Daoshen frowned and didn't understand what Lin Fan was doing. To him, no one could save Swordhead as his mind was on the verge of collapsing. But shortly after, a shocking scene happened. A light covered Swordhead and the cracks on his body started to heal. His injuries also started to turn for the better. I lack a sword seed, so I will give you one. Lin Fan grabbed with his fingers and a sword seed appeared in his palm. He shot it into Swordhead's body. Very quickly, the light dissipated and everything returned to normal. Swordhead opened his eyes. Apart from feeling a little weak, he was fine. He was shocked. When he fainted, he felt like the world was spinning. His consciousness was in total darkness, and he couldn't see any light at all. But at that moment, the darkness was broken and an eye-catching light chased it away. When he opened his eyes, he saw the people in front of him. Lin Fan smiled. Okay. Everything is fine now. You just need to rest, and you will be fine. How is that possible? Zhu Daoshen and the others were astonished. To them, this was impossible. Then, all of them looked towards Lin Fan. What did this kid do? Lin Fan felt everyone's gaze on him. He smiled calmly and said, Don't look at me like that. This is just a very normal operation. I dare not say that I can bring the dead back to life, but as long as they are still breathing, I can save them. Two strongest 9-star generals. Do you have any family members who are about to die? If you do, beg me, and I can help you. Zhu Daoshen and Wu Zhiga looked at one another. The two of them exchanged glances. The meaning was clear. This brat had to die. Whoever kept it was a fool. Brat, it's good that you're here. Let's see who else can save you today. Wu Zhiga's killing intent boiled. He had already made up his mind that no matter what, he would kill this brat and not leave any future troubles. Otherwise, one day in the future, they would have to suffer the consequences of their own actions. In an instant, Zhu Daoshen and Wu Zhiga instantly attacked. When two of the strongest 9-star generals attacked, their aura was naturally shocking. It could be said that the slightest bit of carelessness could result in death. Suddenly, space trembled. Zhu Daoshen and Wu Zhiga were shocked. A terrifying thing happened. Right as they attacked Lin Fan, the dimension in the distance opened up. Numerous sword seeds swept out from within, and their target was the 9-star generals and generals that they brought with them. Hung long, a destructive power ripped open the sky. The space shattered and the sky turned gray. Screams spread out. The marshals and generals who had followed him here had already suffered heavy injuries. Now that it happened once more, how could they block it? No matter what. Lin Fan's cultivation was at Dao Realm Stage 3, not to mention the sword seeds, which were a killing move. Ah, General, save us. They shouted loudly with terrified expressions. Some marshals could hold on for a moment, but the impact of the explosions came wave after wave, not giving them a chance to breathe at all. This ghost could hold on. Jerk, you actually dare to do that. Zhu Daoshen went mad. He thought about something terrifying. He brought so many people out, and only the two of them returned. How was he going to explain that? Lin Fan said towards Zhao Lishan, bring them and leave. Leave them to me. Don't worry, it won't be so easy for them to kill me. I have my own way to leave. The moment he said this, before Zhao Lishan said anything, Lin Fan dashed into the distance. He opened his arms, and the sword seeds swept forwards. They exploded around Zhu Daoshen and Wu Zhiga. Although the sword seeds were really strong, they weren't much to the strongest 9-star generals. Sorhead looked at those scenes in shock, and his mouth was agape. He recognized what this was. This was Sword Palace's secret technique, but he didn't understand how Lin Fan knew it. What terrified him the most was that Lin Fan's sword seeds kept on exploding like they were free. Who could take that? Zhao Lishan was a decisive person. Although he was worried, he knew that young Master Lin had many tricks up his sleeves. Since that was the case, if they didn't listen to his arrangements, then all their efforts would have been for nothing. Go, let's go. He grabbed Swordhead and waved his sleeves. An aura wrapped up all of them and opened up a dimension tunnel. They want to run. When Wu Zhiga saw Zhao Lishan and the others leave, he hesitated. Zhu Daoshen was furious and hollered, don't worry about them. Kill this kid, and everything will be worth it. Okay, you damn kid, you're such a bully. Wu Zhiga was furious because of Lin Fan. He didn't expect this to happen. In the distance, Lin Fan ran the fastest. But so what if he ran fast? He made it sound like he was running slow. Damn, someone save me. Facing Zhu Daoshen and Wu Zhiga, these two strongest 9-star generals, there was nothing he could do. But as the overlord of Yu City, he wasn't afraid of the Alliance's dogs. At most, he would continue to be beaten up. He was thinking of a way to escape. That would work, right? Kid, you won't be able to run. Once I capture you, I will bring you back to the Alliance headquarters and rip you apart. I will dig out your heart, dig out your brain, and suck out your blood. Wu Zhiga was really overbearing, and his words were really vicious. He was totally infuriated by Lin Fan. He could bear with anyone but Lin Fan. Kiki, that is a little cruel, but don't be anxious. After a period of time, I will put a collar on you and treat you like a dog. I will bring you around the streets of the Alliance. Lin Fan replied. He continued to cause trouble for the two of them. Although it was useless to them, along the way, they chased and chased each other. You're asking to die. Wu Zhiga didn't expect that he would face such an arrogant person. His heart was about to explode. If one didn't personally experience that rage, one wouldn't be able to understand. Slash. At that moment, a shocking aura spread from behind him. Wu Zhiga was furious. His fingers turned into a blade, and he slashed forwards. The sky was sliced into half, and the aura was really violent. Lin Fan's hair stood on their ends. He knew that Wu Zhiga was serious, and each time he attacked, he wanted to kill him. How long? An intense explosion rang out in Lin Fan's ears. A shockwave that could destroy everything covered Lin Fan's back. Even if Lin Fan was a dual cultivator, it was tough for him to block such a strike. His back was badly mutilated and fresh blood splattered in the air. Lin Fan sucked in a deep cold breath. It was so painful that his body shivered. Damn, how vicious. But he didn't fear anything. Blood Demon Reversal Technique was enough to recover everything. This technique was just overpowered. Unfortunately, the only secret technique he knew was the Blood Demon Reversal Technique. Ever since then, he hadn't seen any other secret techniques. Maybe it was because they were too rare. You want to kill him? Zhu Daoxuan was stunned when he saw Wu Zhiga's methods. After all, he was really vicious. With Wu Zhiga's strength, his attacks weren't easy. Scoff. What else can I do but kill him? Just watch him flee from us? No matter what, just bring his corpse back. Everything else isn't important anymore. Wu Zhiga was much more vicious than Zhu Daoxuan. It wasn't that he didn't want to capture him alive, but that he was really afraid. If he didn't do anything like before, it would be tough for him to answer to his superiors. The key was that those stupid commoners were just too despicable. They actually dared to scold the strongest 9-star generals. If not for him being afraid of having a bad influence, he would have killed them. Suddenly, Wu Zhiga realized that Lin Fan's situation was a little off. Damn, that kid is actually fine. Impossible. Zhu Daoxuan didn't believe it. Although that move didn't hit, the shockwave caused his back to become a bloody mess. Even if he didn't die, he would definitely be badly injured. Zhu Daoxuan looked at Wu Zhiga with a weird expression. You held back. Do you think I will hold back? Forget it, this kid definitely has a way to protect himself. So, just go all out and don't worry so much. Wu Zhiga said. If someone asked them in the past, would they believe that a Dao Realm Stage 3 kid would be able to escape from their hands? They would definitely laugh out loud and tell them with a smile on their faces. That is a good thought, but don't treat it seriously. Don't say that next time, otherwise it will be an insult to us. But now, Lin Fan was only at Dao Realm Stage 3, and he was fleeing right under their noses. Moreover, they weren't able to do anything to him. To them, this was an insult, a huge insult. How should I escape? Lin Fan was in deep thought and didn't know what to do. It was really difficult to escape from the hands of two of the strongest 9-star generals. Destroying the dimension, intercepting him, those were all normal methods. Maybe only when they didn't notice would he be able to sneak away. But just thinking about it, he knew that it was impossible. How is it so simple? Chapter 483. Kid, how many legs do you have to be able to run so quickly? Zhu Daoxuan scolded. He was unhappy that Lin Fan ran so quickly. To think that the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance weren't able to surpass him in terms of speed, that was just so embarrassing. Lin Fan turned his head, 3 legs thick and long. Zhu Daoxuan was stunned. He came back to his senses and raged. Kid, if I catch you, I will let you personally witness my 3 legs being cut off. Lin Fan was still able to reply while running. One could see how much he disrespected the 9-star generals. But Zhu Daoxuan's words made Lin Fan's pants tighten. Damn, this old fellow was so cruel. He was just casually saying it, and he actually wanted to cut it off. It seemed like no matter what, he couldn't let him catch him. At that moment, Lin Fan felt the space behind him explode. He turned around and was so terrified that his body shook. The two of them attacked at the same time, and the space was squeezed. It was as if a high-level civilization had smashed a 3-dimensional space into a 2-dimensional one. Lin Fan hollered and struck with all his strength. He had to block it, otherwise, just the ripples alone could kill him. When facing other people, he could casually tease them, but he was facing the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance. Moreover, there were 2 of them, so it was best if he didn't ask to die. He had to treat it seriously and think of a way to flee. Hong Long. Both sides clashed, causing the dimension to become really unstable, and then it collapsed. Lin Fan frowned. The ripples ravaged his body, and it was really painful. Recover. Fortunately, he had obtained a useful secret technique. Otherwise, who knew what the outcome would have been? This kid has recovered again. He has some kind of secret technique that can heal his injuries. Wu Zhiga saw it clearly. He had heavily injured the kid, but in the blink of an eye, he recovered. Zhu Daoshan was interested in Lin Fan's secret technique and thought that it was the ability to save Swordhead. If we can capture him alive, then so be it. If we can get that secret technique from him, it might be helpful to us. At the same time, he was terrified of Lin Fan's strength. He was only Dao Realm Stage 3. If one day, this brat's strength reached level 4 or level 5, with this kind of leapfrogging combat ability, the two of them might be easily killed. Just thinking about it was terrifying. Are the brains of those analysts in the Alliance full of shit? Why did they notice him so late? Also, the 4 alliances informed them long ago, but they didn't wipe him out, allowing him to grow to such a stage. No matter what, we have to kill him here today. Wu Zhiga's eyes turned ferocious and terrifying, his killing intent boiling. Perhaps in his opinion, as long as he could kill his opponent, it was necessary to pay a price. Rumble, rumble. The world rumbled incessantly. The commotion caused by the 2 strongest 9-star generals chasing Lin Fan was too huge. But as it was in the Alliance's territory, it didn't attract people from the 4 alliances. Only the Alliance headquarters kept beeping. As the level of power that exploded out was too high, the nebula that formed covered the entire Alliance's territory. They didn't know who the Alliance 9-star general faced for such an intense battle to occur. Could be Lin Wani. This was what they all thought. Maybe to them, only Lin Wani would make the Alliance 9-star generals so serious. F*CK. These 2 old farts are so ruthless. Lin Fan was a little haggard, but he could tell the other party loudly that even if he was proud, he would never lose out. He didn't lose out at all. Not only did he kill some generals, but he also allowed Zhao Lishan and the others to escape. The price he paid was that he was being chased. It wasn't much. He could still take it. But if he didn't have the Blood Demon reversal technique, the outcome would be totally different. How should I escape? Lin Fan just wanted to escape. As for fighting the 2 of them, there was no need for that. He obviously couldn't beat them. So why did he have to find trouble for himself? He didn't need to prove anything, and he didn't need to get himself covered in blood. Once he raised his cultivation to Dao Realm Stage 4, then he would have a good fight with them. Suddenly, Lin Fan realized that the situation was a little off. A pair of giant hands reached out from the ground and grabbed towards the 2 9-star generals. It was like they were blocking the path of the Alliance 9-star generals. Lin Fan turned his head and saw a person standing there. He couldn't see his face, but his body was a little scary. He was just too fat. He wanted to thank Brother Fatty, and then he would take his leave. But forget about it. Brother, thank you. If I have the chance, I will head over to thank you. Lin Fan didn't stop. He didn't know him, so there was no need to say anything about brotherhood. He used this chance to rip open the dimension and step in. Hong Long. Monster Emperor, you are asking to die. Wu Zhiga hollered. They followed Lin Fan and knew that no matter how the kid ran, he wouldn't be able to escape from them. But Monster Emperor's sudden attack caught them off guard. They hesitated for a moment, and the kid took the chance to flee. Zhu Daoshan looked at the dimension and couldn't find any traces of him. His expression turned dark and sunken. Shua. He looked at Monster Emperor, and the vengeful energy was like an ocean. It surged and struck Monster Emperor's body. Monster Emperor, the Alliance has never offended you. What is the meaning of this? Zhu Daoshan didn't expect Monster Emperor to appear here. At the same time, he even let him go. This was going against the Alliance headquarters. Monster Emperor's body was like a small mountain. He turned his head and looked at the dimension that Lin Fan disappeared into. A smile appeared on his face. There is no need to thank me. He then looked at Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga. Haha, I never have a reason to do anything. If you're unhappy, then kill me. I'm not afraid of anything. Ha ha. Zhu Daoshan was extremely furious. You lunatic. To them, Monster Emperor was a lunatic, a complete lunatic. He didn't know what Monster Emperor was thinking to actually go against the Alliance headquarters. At the same time, they knew that this wasn't the first time. You dog, I will kill you. Wu Zhiga hollered in rage. He transferred all his rage towards Lin Fan on a Monster Emperor. If not for him, Lin Fan wouldn't have run. If not for him, they wouldn't have failed. No one knew where Monster Emperor was, and it was as if he had disappeared from the world. But now that he appeared here and spoiled their plan, who could accept that? How long? An even more intense battle erupted. Everything within a few miles was destroyed, and it continued to spread outwards. Monster Emperor fought against two of the strongest 9-star generals. The first strike. Monster Emperor was badly injured, and a bloody hole appeared in his body. Fresh blood flowed, and one could even see his organs. But Monster Emperor didn't care at all. Ha ha ha. Come, I don't fear anything. Zhu Daoshan frowned. You stupid monster. In their eyes, Monster Emperor was a monster, and he wasn't human at all. Just as Zhu Daoshan said this, Lin Fan's eyes lit up. Monster Emperor lowered his head, and his breathing became rushed. A fierce glow flashed in his eyes, and his face was vicious like there was something hidden under his skin. I want all of you to die. How long? A battle exploded. Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoshan were really strong. Even if Monster Emperor was strong, he wasn't their match at all. But, just as they said, Monster Emperor shouldn't be a human, right? Who knew how long passed? Beside a small stream, a giant body walked there. Drip! Drip! Monster Emperor's body was riddled with holes, and large amounts of blood dripped down, dyeing the ground red. At the same time, it dyed the stream red. Shortly after, many dead fish floated on the surface. Hee hee. Monster Emperor wanted to laugh, but each time he did, he would spit out large amounts of blood. He walked beside the stream, and his entire body was reflected in the water. I'm not a monster. I will kill all of you. Monster Emperor hated people calling him a monster. Suddenly, Monster Emperor's eyes turned gray and his will dissipated. With a loud thud, he fell into the stream. Who was the one who attacked? Lin Fan came to a safe place and was really confused. He had never seen that body before, and anyway, it definitely wasn't a friend. Perhaps it was a reclusive expert. It just so happened that they passed by his territory and angered him. Since the two of them were the strongest, the expert took the initiative to challenge them. Yeah, that was possible, and there shouldn't be any problems. It is time to find Zhao Lishan and the others. Before Zhao Lishan left, he told Lin Fan where to find them. With the current situation, although it was good to fight one-on-one, if they recruited more experts to fill up Marshall Path Mountain, it would be a huge help in expanding the map. Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoshan stood on the cliff. The two of them stood with their arms behind their backs and looked into the distance. They kept silent like they were one with heaven and earth. After a long while, Wu Zhiga opened his mouth. Do you think that kid is our nemesis? Zhu Daoshan looked at Wu Zhiga and wanted to say something, but his throat seemed to be stuck. He wanted to say something, but he stopped. He could only sigh and express the pain in his heart. Lin Fan ran. Monster Emperor was beaten half to death by them and fled. In the end, they didn't get anything and even lost the 9-star generals who followed them. To put it nicely, they lost them. To put it simply, they died. They were killed by a sneak attack right in front of their faces. They would go back and tell the Alliance headquarters that they couldn't blame them and that they had to blame Lin Fan for appearing and sneak attacking them. But even if they believed them, would the Alliance headquarters believe them? Wu Zhiga continued. When did we become 9-star generals? Thinking about it, it has been decades. At that time, everything was smooth sailing for us, and we didn't face any problems, but now... Haze. A gust of wind blew over. The two old brothers suddenly felt melancholy. Their hearts were empty, and they didn't even dare to head back. It was like they had failed an exam and had to ask their parents to sign it. They felt really terrified. Zhu Daoshan kept silent for a long while and said, Why not? We don't go back. Wu Zhiga was stunned, and looked at Zhu Daoshan like he didn't expect him to say such a thing. Actually, it is good that we don't go back, but can you help me with something? Zhu Daoshan what? Wu Zhiga. Anyway, you aren't going back, so why don't I say that you betrayed the alliance and messed with the natives? I was tricked, and only I survived. What do you think? Zhu Daoshan. Chapter 484. Damn, Zhu Daoshan had a good upbringing. After all, he had a granddaughter and was usually a really nice grandfather in front of her. But now, he really couldn't take it anymore. Words couldn't describe what he was feeling, and he could only use one word to describe it. Wu Zhiga had a good plan. To not be the scapegoat, he tossed all the blame to him. What a good teammate. Of course, the two of them were just randomly saying those words, and they weren't really going to leave the alliance. But to Wu Zhiga, when he suggested that, he really hoped that Zhu Daoshan would pat his chest and say that. Okay, don't worry, leave this to me. Although it was a little fake. But one had to be filled with hope. What if it came true? In the end, the two old men walked into the distance. They looked at their backs and felt that the surrounding atmosphere was really lonely. Maybe to them, this was because they couldn't keep their chastity. The two of them were just unlucky. For example, this time, if Monster Emperor hadn't appeared, it would have been tough for Lin Fan to escape from their hands. What a waste. Luck was also a part of strength. It was just so interesting. They couldn't understand. Was there something wrong with Monster Emperor's head? Why did he keep helping Lin Fan? Was Monster Emperor close to Lin Wani or Lin Fan? That was impossible. Monster Emperor did things that even Lin Wani couldn't help but want to kill him. So how could they have a good relationship? Maybe there was something wrong with his head. Master Zhao, what happened to young Master Lin? Can he escape from their hands? Old Shen asked. He didn't expect that young Master Lin would be the one to save them. Zhao Lishan's expression was solemn, and he hesitated. He should be fine. Thinking about how Lin Fan was facing two of the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance, he wasn't confident that Lin Fan could return alive. Suddenly, there was movement outside. Zhao Lishan told everyone to be quiet. There is someone outside. But very soon, he heard someone shouting outside. Where is he? I am Lin Fan. Where are all of you? Zhao Lishan heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that. But he felt that young Master Lin's communication method was a little arrogant. Wasn't he afraid of drawing people over? It is Brother Lin. Brother Lin is fine. Huluo was really excited and ran outside. Seeing how hurried Huluo and the others were, Zhao Lishan smiled and shook his head, following closely behind. After confirming that young Master Lin was fine, he was relieved. Outside, Lin Fan was really calm as he was surrounded by people. Huluo surrounded him and said many things. Of course, there were many border defense experts who praised Lin Fan. To be able to lure away the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance alone was something that made them respect him so much that they were moved to tears. Zhao Lishan looked on from the side, and when it was about time, he walked forwards. Young Master Lin, how did you escape from the Alliance 9-star generals? Lin Fan smiled. It's a long story. It's not something that can be explained in a short time. But I have to say, this place is really hard to find. I shouted for you guys for half a day before you guys responded. Zhao Lishan smiled. He didn't expect young Master Lin to be so bold. At that time was too tight and he couldn't say it clearly. He could only give a rough location, which was why young Master Lin had searched for so long, and they couldn't do anything about it. Last time, when Lin Fan passed by Giant Sword Sect, Zhang Rongming followed him to join Laozhan City. Now that he saw him again, his aura had changed. What was more shocking was that his cultivation had increased too. In the past, he was an initial Grandmaster, and now he was about to step into God Essence realm. This improvement speed was just too quick. That was enough to show how talented Zhang Rongming was. Moreover, he had an expert teaching him, so it was tough for him not to improve. This was the first time Swordhead saw Lin Fan, and he was grateful. But he was also curious as to why Lin Fan knew the Sword Palace technique. He thought about it for a long time and still couldn't understand. Lin Fan told Swordhead the story between him and Elder Han Qing. He knew the Sword Palace technique, because before he died, he saw that Lin Fan was talented and knew that he wasn't a normal person. For the peace of the world, he taught it to me. He said it in such a righteous manner. Swordhead thought about something, and his expression was one of disappointment. He sighed and didn't pursue the matter. He was just shocked by Lin Fan's cultivation speed and called him a genius born for the sword. Lin Fan's expression didn't change, and he just accepted it. He didn't really want to tell the other party that he didn't care much about the sword Dao. He just happened to cultivate it, and it wasn't much. Of course, if he really said that, Swordhead probably wouldn't be able to take it. Lin Fan had promised Han Qing one thing. Han Qing had given him his sword, regret, in hopes that he would be able to find a woman with 6 fingers. This matter was really difficult, but he didn't care. He could only take it one step at a time. Who knew when he would bump into her? Zhao Lishan said, "Young Master Lin, what do you plan to do next?" His initial thought was to lead his brothers to fight the Alliance to the end. Even if they couldn't cause much trouble for the Alliance, they definitely couldn't let them have it so easy. In truth, they did do many things that made the Alliance headquarters hate them to the bone. This was why the Alliance attacked them so crazily. If it wasn't for young Master Lin leading the enemy away, the outcome would have been catastrophic. Lin Fan thought about it for a moment. "Why don't you follow me back to Marshall Path Mountain? All of you know about the current situation. Imperial Dynasty, Alliance, and the 4 alliances have occupied their own territory. Now that the 4 alliances are at war, it is a good thing for the Alliance headquarters. They have started to take action and occupy more territory. We won't be able to achieve much by fighting against the Alliance aimlessly. My idea is simple. We will use Marshall Path Mountain as our foundation to expand and become the 6th faction." Lin Fan's words were really firm. He had absolute confidence in becoming the 6th faction. As he had the Chief God domain, he believed that it wouldn't be a problem. Zhao Lishan looked at Lin Fan in shock. He didn't expect young Master Lin to be so ambitious. He lowered his head and thought about it. He felt that it made sense, but to him, it was really difficult. After all, it was like snatching food from Tiger's mouth. "Young Master Lin, are you confident?" Zhao Lishan asked. Lin Fan smiled confidently. "If it was just me alone, I would be 70% confident. But if all of you join in, then I am 100% confident." Zhao Lishan was shocked by Lin Fan's confidence, and then he laughed out loud. "Great, since that is the case, then I will follow young Master Lin and help you form the 6th faction to fight against them." Lin Fan smiled. "We can't fight against them. My goal is to crush them." Everyone was shocked. They instantly felt their blood boil, and it was like something was burning in their bodies. Lin Fan asked, "Old Zhao, do you know where my father is? I have been searching for him, but I have no news at all." Zhao Lishan shook his head. "Young Master Lin, I don't know where Master Lin is, but based on my guesses, he is definitely with the Imperial Dynasty princes." Lin Fan thought about it and felt that it was possible. He then said, "Have you seen my cousin?" He missed his cousin. Although he knew that his cousin was fine, his cousin was a little dumb. He was afraid that his cousin would be bullied outside. Zhao Lishan was stunned. "Young Master Lin, who is your cousin?" Forget it. He didn't want to continue pursuing this matter. If he wanted to find his beloved cousin, he had to rely on himself. Old Zhao probably hasn't seen him. Let's just leave this place. Lin Fan waved his hands. He had been out for a period of time and was eager to head back to take a look at Marshall Path Mountain. They didn't stay here and followed behind Lin Fan towards Marshall Path Mountain. Alliance Headquarters Meeting Room. "Wu Zhiga, Zhu Daoshin, do you have anything to say?" In the meeting room, the commander's voice was dark and sunken. He was already in a furious state. The two of them looked at one another. No, they really had nothing to say. The key was that they couldn't find a suitable reason. They looked at the gazes of those old fellows. They were all gloating and were filled with jealousy. As the strongest 9-star general, his status was much higher than theirs. The commander was furious. He got up from his throne and kicked the table in front of him. The documents on it scattered all over the ground, and the situation was a little chaotic. He pointed to 2 of them and raged. "The 2 of you are one of the strongest 9-star generals in the Alliance headquarters, and you led so many generals. But now, not only did you not wipe out the natives, but only the two of you return alive. What use do you have? Are you still the strongest 9-star general of the Alliance headquarters? The commander's rage terrified everyone. Even the guards outside shivered. Who knew how long it had been since they saw the commander angry? Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoxin felt really annoyed. When did they become so unlucky? Perhaps he had to start from the battle with Lin Wani. Since then, their luck became really bad and everything they did wasn't smooth. Wu Zhiga wanted to keep silent, but he couldn't sit still and wait for death. He had to find a reason for himself. Commander, you can't blame us for this. The natives were about to be wiped out by us, but Lin Fan suddenly appeared. His strength reached an uncontrollable level. Although he isn't our match, Monster Emperor's appearance caused the situation to change. Really, before he finished, he was interrupted by the commander. This isn't an excuse for your failure. Wu Zhiga was helpless. His expectations were a little high. What did he mean by it wasn't an excuse for failure? He really had no choice. At that moment, he realized that Zhu Daoxin's expression was really calm, and he didn't say a single word from start to finish. He thought about how he said so much and was still scolded by the commander. What right did he have? Why didn't he say anything at all? Suddenly, Zhu Daoxin opened his mouth. Haze, I am old, and I am not as agile anymore. I should just go home and take care of my granddaughter so that I won't embarrass myself. As for the Alliance's strongest 9-star general, please take it back. Huh? The 9-star generals in the meeting room were delighted. Those who had the title didn't change their expressions, and those who didn't were interested. If someone took a step back, then someone else would definitely step up. Maybe they would have a chance. The commander's expression changed, and then he said gently, Old Zhu, what nonsense are you saying? Forget it, forget it. We can't blame you for this. I will let it go this time. Don't feel too burdened. You have contributed so much to the Alliance headquarters, and no one can replace that. Damn! Wu Zhiga was stunned as he looked at Zhu Daoxin. Was he so cunning? He was saying that he wasn't going to do anything, and he even asked the commander to calm him down. Chapter 485. Outside the Alliance headquarters meeting room. Wu Zhiga's gaze towards Zhu Daoxin changed. Not bad. Retreating in order to advance, letting the commander console you. You're really skilled. Why didn't I think of that? What do you mean by that? Zhu Daoxin was stunned, and then he reacted to what he was saying. I am speaking the truth. I am indeed a little tired, and I really want to let go of my burden and reunite with my family. Thinking about it, I have served the Alliance for close to 100 years. If not for the commander asking me to stay, I really would have wanted to leave. Wu Zhiga looked at Zhu Daoxin's expression and his lips curled. His words sounded like they were the truth. Continue acting. What a cunning fellow. What happened next was really simple, and as expected. Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoxin, the two strongest 9-star generals, lost, and the Alliance suffered heavy losses was exposed. The two of them were at the center of the storm and were scolded badly by the Alliance citizens. Even if an old citizen mentioned what the two strongest 9-star generals had done for the Alliance, they were ignored and drowned in the ocean. Their intentions were obvious. No matter how much they had done in the past, now that there was a problem, naturally, they would scold them. Wu Zhiga's mental state exploded and he nearly killed all of them. Zhu Daoxin was really calm. The key was that he didn't know. His family blocked all information and didn't let the old man come into contact with such things. Anyway, the old man was playing with his granddaughter and didn't pay attention to the Alliance platform. A desolate desert. A beautiful carriage slowly traveled on the desert. The ones pulling the carriage weren't horses, but people. They were naked, and each of them grabbed a rope and dragged it forwards. There were marks on their backs. It looked like they were imprinted by burning iron. Simply put, these people were slaves. At that moment, an old man walked to the carriage. Little miss, the person we picked up on the road isn't simple. Is it a problem to bring him back without investigating him? At that moment, the curtains were opened and a girl's face was revealed. It was indeed very beautiful, but it gave off a feeling of coldness and cruelty. Not simple? The woman smiled coldly and said, "Regardless of whether you are simple or not, once you are in this lady's hands, you will have to obediently become a slave. I have never seen a slave with such a special body before." Behind the carriage was a cage, and inside it was an extremely fat man. If not for the fact that he was still breathing, they would have thought that he was dead. The woman's luck was simply too good. She didn't expect to pick up such a strange species on the road. However, if others were to see this, they would probably be so scared that they would piss their pants. You even dared to pick up Monster Emperor's corpse. Did you not know how death was written? Hell Mountain. Who is it? The guards guarding Hell Mountain saw a black-robed man walk over and stopped him right away. Hell Mountain had an agreement with the Alliance headquarters to allow them to develop in rich land. To them, this was the peak of their lives, and they were about to reach a point that they couldn't reach in their past glory. The black-robed man stood there and took off the black hood on his head. An uproar. The guard instantly knelt down. "Greetings, evil god Zhenming." Zhenming's expression didn't change as he walked in. When Hell Mountain learned that Zhenming had returned, everyone was shocked. After all, to them, Zhenming should have fallen in Laozhan City. Who knew that he would return? This was a piece of news that made everyone excited. The return of an expert obviously made Hell Mountain stronger. But to those who were familiar with Zhenming, they felt like Zhenming had changed somewhere. But it was hard to say. To them, it was good that he was back. Martial Path Mountain. Young Master Lin, this place is not bad. It isn't in the territory of the four alliances, so you can develop well. Zhao Lishan said. The four alliances were really terrifying, and it was really tough to develop in their territory. Unless one relied on absolute strength, there was no hope. Zhao Lishan didn't think that he had such an ability. Lin Fan smiled. 1,000 miles around is Martial Path Mountain's territory. Those weak powers have all been wiped out. What we lack now is experts. However, since old Zhao and you are here, then this problem will be solved. Zhao Lishan didn't expect young Master Lin to be so skilled to actually expand his territory to 1,000 miles. It was really shocking. Young Master Lin, if Master Lin knew that you had such achievements, he would be really happy. Zhao Lishan said. He was really impressed. To have such cultivation at such a young age, how many people in the world could have such achievements? Everyone came to the mountain gate. Please. As the host, naturally, Lin Fan had to bring them around. Martial Path Mountain's buildings have been renovated, and overall, it was still okay. Brother Lin, this place is really a treasure land. You actually have a livestock. Hu Luo looked at the fat pig that walked over and couldn't help but laugh. Once it grows up, we'll get some piglets. Then, we won't lack pork at all. Lin Fan was stunned. He wanted to tell Hu Luo to stop, but it was too late. Zhu Shun hurried over when he saw young Master Lin return. He didn't hear anything else, but he heard everything Hu Luo said. Then he raged. "Kid, who are you talking about?" Zhu Shun scolded. Arrogant, really arrogant. He obviously didn't hold him in any regard. Even if he turned into a pig, he wouldn't be a normal pig. But this kid actually treated him like a livestock. If he didn't teach him a lesson, he would really be too arrogant. But when he saw the person who came, he was shocked. Then he was delighted. Zhao Lishan, sore head. "How did you all come?" Zhao Lishan was stunned. It was like a movie was playing in his mind. He thought about it and didn't expect that he knew a pig. "You are," Zhu Shin said. "I am Zhu Shun. Due to some special reasons, I became like this." Zhu Shun? At that moment, not only was Zhao Lishan stunned, but the others were too. How did the top blade of the Imperial Dynasty become like this? Zhao Lishan saw Lin Fan nod his head and totally believed that this was Zhu Shun. Lin Fan said, "This is a long story and it is hard to tell it in a short time. Why don't we head to the main hall and talk about it?" Within the main hall, Lin Fan told everyone about what happened in Yi City. Zhu Shun sacrificed himself and died with the Alliance. But due to some luck, he turned into a pig. Although it made one feel helpless, it was a good thing that he was able to keep his life. Everyone was filled with respect for Zhu Shun's fearless attitude. Even if he turned into a pig, he was still willing to give his last bit of strength to fight against the Alliance. If Zhu Shun knew what they were thinking, he might have said, "Thank you all. Guys, with our current strength, although we might not be able to catch up to the top sex, we aren't too far away. The Imperial Dynasty is colluding with the Alliance headquarters, and the four alliances are fighting amongst themselves to occupy territory. If we want to chase the Alliance out, we can only rely on ourselves. If we can gather the other city defense experts, then our strength will increase. Even if we face the strongest 9-star generals, we won't be afraid." Lin Fan was really confident. Before Zhao Lishan and the others came, he was already really confident. Much less now. His biggest trump card were the two places that believed in him: City of Darkness and Mountain City. These were the places where he spread his faith. During this period of time, the faith from these two places was at an explosive rate. It was obvious that more and more people believed in him. There weren't many who could reach the purple level of faith. There were only 3 of them in these two places. With such a huge base, it was really too little. Zhao Lishan said, "Their whereabouts are unknown and I don't know where they are. If we can find them, they will be of great help." Swordhead said, "I lost contact with Sanfeng Daoist, but they might still be in the Alliance's territory. If Sanfeng Daoist appears, we will have top combat power." In the past, the various defense cities were unequal. Each city was facing experts. Old Priest Sanfeng was weaker than Lin Wani, but he could still fight against the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance. Oh, by the way, I heard that an extraordinary expert appeared in Tinshui City at the border. No one knows his name. Everyone calls him Old Monk. He is very powerful. When Tinshui City retreated, they were surrounded by the strongest 9-star generals. This old monk forced them back alone. Lin Fan was a little curious. "So amazing?" Swordhead nodded. "Very amazing. Although I don't know his name, he has a guy beside him. I think he's called Qin Zhong." Qin Zhong. Lin Fan frowned. He felt like he had heard this name before, but he couldn't recall it. Forget it. Since he couldn't recall it, then he wouldn't think about it. Anyway, it had nothing to do with him. But if he could pull the old monk in, then his strength would increase once more. Zhao Lishan said, "Young Master Lin, I think they are definitely looking for us. There is no rush. The key is whether we should slowly develop or expand our territory." "Expand." Lin Fan said, "The top sects won't have any conflicts with us, so we don't have to worry about facing people we can't fight." He was in a rush to raise his strength. At Dao Realm Stage 4, he could fight against the strongest 9-star generals and also those peak experts from the top sections. If not, he felt like his life wasn't that free. Just as Lin Fan and the others were discussing the development of Martial Path Mountain, something happened at the 4 alliances. The main reason was that the battles became more intense. The top sects joined the battle. It wasn't so intense at first, but there was a misunderstanding. Thus, the 4 alliances really started fighting. This saved the Alliance headquarters the trouble of thinking of ways to sow discord. For some reason, they reached their goal, and that felt great. Chapter 486. What a former Imperial Dynasty prince was. "Lin Wani, what did you say?" Old ancestor Su Changsen asked. He looked behind and didn't see anyone. He had a weird expression on his face. Why did Lin Wani come back alone? Logically speaking, he should have brought someone back. Lin Wani shook his head. He didn't succeed. It is a little weird. I feel like something happened to him. Su Changsan frowned. With your relationship with him, he shouldn't have not given you face. He should have told you something, otherwise, he wouldn't have sent you back so easily. Lin Wani went to invite a divinator. He studied destiny his whole life, and his divinations were really accurate. He wanted to invite him to help the prince recover the Imperial Dynasty. He said that there was no hope, and that he wouldn't leave the mountain for the rest of his life. He just wants to live a peaceful life and has no interest in fighting and killing. Lin Wani said. Old ancestor Su thought about it and nodded his head. His words make sense. Even I feel like there is no hope now. He thought about Prince Zhao's situation and how he had no motivation at all. Instead, he felt like this place was really comfortable. But as the country protector, he had the heavy responsibility of recovering the imperial dynasty. Even if he felt like there was no hope, he couldn't give up. He even felt that with these old fellows here, they would definitely succeed. What are the two of you whispering about? Can you share it with me? Water Emperor smiled and walked over. The divinator didn't come? That fellow is really careful. People who know destiny are really afraid of death and will run faster than anyone else when there is danger. If he didn't come, doesn't that mean that he has no confidence? Truthfully, with our current strength, it is really tough. It is really tough to suppress those top sects and the Alliance. But riches are found in danger. There's a path that we could try. Water Emperor was really mysterious, like he knew a huge secret. His gaze towards the two of them was like he was sending a signal. Do you dare try? Lin Wani and Su Changsun looked at one another and didn't know what Water Emperor was talking about. Water Emperor didn't hide anything. Do you know how the Yin demons came about? Su Changsun frowned like he understood something, but he wasn't sure. Water Emperor, just say what you want to say. Can you stop stuttering? You're more knowledgeable than us. We admit that. But if you want to show off like this, then it is pointless. Although Lin Wani was strong and knowledgeable, there were some secrets that he didn't know. Water Emperor smiled and didn't hide anything. Okay, then let me tell all of you. I learned about this from a secret place. You should know that Yin demons are usually really weak. The strongest is around God Essence Realm. It is tough to meet any higher unless there are special situations. But based on what I know, Yin demons aren't so simple. They live below us, and due to some reason, they were sealed a long time ago. Only some Yin demons that aren't considered Yin demons are helping us fight against the Alliance. So, what I mean is to find the place where the seal is and remove it to release the Yin demons to throw the powers of the world into chaos. Only then will we have a chance. Lin Wani didn't even think and waved his hands. That won't work. Yin demons eat human flesh and blood. Do you really want to wipe out the world? Those people from the Alliance are humans, but Yin demons aren't. Su Changsun nodded his head. I also feel that we shouldn't take the risk. Yin demons were sealed by the people in the past, which means that they are really dangerous. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been sealed. Water Emperor, do you have something to do with Yin demons and want to trick us to remove the seal? When Water Emperor heard this, he was unhappy. What do you mean by that? I am just giving you a suggestion. The stone plaque is at the bottom of the ocean eye. If you don't believe me, then go take a look. Water Emperor was furious. He was planning for them and actually said that he had something to do with Yin demons. That was just so annoying. All right, there is something important that I didn't tell you. I obtained a huge secret from the stone plaque. Do you want to know? Su Changsun took in a deep breath. Once again, his emotions were going to explode from Water Emperor's actions. Damn, this old fellow was so infuriating. Just say what he had to say. What secret? Lin Wani asked. Water Emperor said, as for the method to break through to Tao Realm Stage 7 and above, it seems to have something to do with Yin demons. But the stone plaque didn't record it, so I don't know either. Shock. Lin Wani and Su Changsun were obviously shocked by Water Emperor's secret. Who knew how many people wanted to break through to Tao Realm Stage 7 and above? But they had no choice. When they reached that limit, they would feel like there was no path ahead. No matter how hard they tried, it was useless. At the start, they thought that Stage 7 was the peak, and they didn't care much about it. But now that Water Emperor said those words, they were shocked. Not long later, Lin Wani reacted. Okay, let's not think so much. Let's solve the matter in front of us first. Su Changsun understood what Lin Wani meant. It was best not to try unknown dangers. So what if they knew how to step into Tao Realm Stage 8? With the current situation, the conditions didn't allow it at all. A few days later, during this period of time, Marshall Path Mountain expanded their territory. Lin Fan went out and was a little tired. He continued to be taken care of by Go Z and ate delicious food every day. His life was really comfortable. And not bad. At this moment, Lin Fan laid there comfortably. Mu Gang's snow-white fingers landed on his back. Mu Gang, it has been a while and your skills have improved. Not bad, not bad. Continue to work hard. Was Lin Fan's life still human? It was something that only evil landlords could enjoy. It is good that young master likes it. Mu Gang replied shyly. Go Zi frowned. It wasn't good for Mu Gang to speak to young master like that. If this was in Yu City, she would definitely be punished. Was she trying to seduce young master? A small servant actually wanted to make a comeback. She was really scheming. During this period of time, Nine Demon slowly changed. In the past, it had already grown a pair of wings. Just recently, Nine Demon's body had actually grown golden scales. It was quite strange. He knew that Nine Demon was a good thing in Insect Valley, but he didn't know what it was exactly. Feng Poliu was once the Insect Valley Grand Disciple and knew about Nine Demon's background. But Nine Demon's changes stunned him. The changes were huge, and it was different from its mother. He wanted to study Nine Demon, but he knew that he wasn't strong enough. The main reason was because he left Insect Valley too early and didn't learn much. He had the heart, but no ability. Young master, what do you want to eat tonight? Go Zi asked. Lin Fan wanted to say something, but suddenly there was movement in the god domain. He got up and raised his hand to tell Go Zi and the others not to speak. Just now, he sensed that there was a source of faith that he could ask for. It wasn't for himself, but for the protection of a god when he faced trouble. City of Darkness. This was the village. At this moment, the village was in a bad situation. It faced its biggest crisis in history. After Xue Jinru and the others came here, they stayed here. Originally, she wanted to become the village chief's disciple, but the village chief explained that the villagers were only so powerful because they received the protection of the gods. Therefore, she began to worship the statues of the gods like the villagers, hoping to receive this power. I didn't expect that you natives would actually hide here. Xue family people are here too. You really aren't afraid to die. The village was surrounded by a bunch of Alliance members. The one who spoke was an old man, an Alliance 9-star general at Dao Realm Stage 3. They occupied a city for the Alliance, and Xue family was the family in that city. Who knew that they would actually dare to fight against the Alliance? Naturally, they had to wipe them out. Who knew that half of them would be killed and only a few of them would escape? General, that is the general. We are finished. Shuizhong's face was ashen white. Facing the Alliance 9-star general, he didn't have any will to fight back at all. The gap in strength was just too huge. The expert they recognized, the village chief, was suppressed by the Alliance 9-star general. He was heavily injured and was praying in front of the statue. The villagers were furious. Come and pray. The chief god will protect us. The village chief said weakly. He was no match for him, but he believed that the chief god would save them. When the Alliance 9-star general and the others saw this, they laughed out loud. Ignorant natives, you actually want to seek the chief god's protection. What you're praying to is just a statue. What use is it? The villagers listened to the village chief and didn't bother about what the Alliance said at all. They believed that the chief god would protect them. Father, what should we do? Xue Jinru asked anxiously. They prayed to the statue for a long time, but there was no change. They felt that it was a lie. If the village chief wasn't so strong, they would have left long ago. Xue Zhong had a bitter expression on his face. What can we do? Even if we want to run, we can't. If we knew that we were safe, we should have left and not stayed here. The Alliance would definitely be able to find us. Haze. Xue Jinru looked at her father in despair. They were surrounded by the Alliance and the village chief that they thought was no match for the Alliance 9-star general. The outcome was obvious. They would be destroyed along with the village. Xue Jinru looked at the villagers. During this period of time, it would be a lie to say that she had no feelings for them, especially when the village chief treated them really well. Village chief, you're the strongest, so you can definitely run. Don't believe that anyone can protect you. Just run. Xue Jinru believed that with the village chief's strength, he would definitely be able to run. But the village chief, who was praying, didn't care about the voices around him at all. Ha! Forget it. I will send all of you on your way. The moment he said this, the Alliance 9-star general slapped forwards. At that moment, a giant hand covered the sky and covered the village. It then gave off a terrifying aura and pressed down. It is over. Shue Jinru and the others raised their heads and were about to close their eyes in despair. But just at that moment, a shocking phenomenon occurred. P.S. I have always wanted to go back to the fourth day, but I keep getting called out to eat supper. I will head out to eat and come back later to try. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.